Good evening, everyone. I am Jeff McConey, and with me in the booth is Bon Satufa. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. This race tonight is going to be a show of how much changes over the course of just 1 week. The first race at the virtual Stafford Speedway proved to be a challenging one for these drivers, as they struggled to avoid each other while trying to march through the field in a race marred by cautions. There may be a lot of hurt feelings that carry over this week, so we will see if anyone is holding a grudge. Qualifying proved to be more important than ever, though, as the guys that started near the front tended to stay there with only a few exceptions. We saw a lot of drama in the heat races and Conti events as well, and can expect the same here tonight. Those races are each 10 laps with cautions, but the laps don't count, so it's a war to survive as well as finish in those key front spots to advance to the feature. Remember, nobody is locked in here, and we could send any of your big name drivers home. Now let's check out the highlights from last week's race.
This might be virtually the show, but nonetheless, it's the show. Teddy Hodgson will lead him down to the green flag. The Napa iRacing 100 is on.
Hodgson has the advantage. Christopher Jr. side by side with Tom and Narducci. A hard dive to the inside. He's going to have the run going into turn 3. Let's see if Hodgson gives it to him. Races him hard. They make a little contact. Hodgson holds on.
They're 2x2. Oh, Hodgson drives in deep. He clips the grass. Narducci slides up the track. Hodgson is there to the inside of Narducci as they cross the line to take halfway.
Narducci saw Hodgson on the inside and thought, what's this madman doing? He's hitting him. That's what he's doing. They were 3 wide for the lead for a second. Here comes the 3 car out of nowhere. Matt Swanson is 2 Hodgsons inside. Brian Narducci goes 3 wide onto an exit with Swanson in the middle. He's the meat in the sandwich. And on the outside, Mike Christopher Jr. Narducci, all 4 tires on the apron.
Wow, they were 3 wide and they made it.
Dylan Izzo.
Oh, turn 4! Big pile up behind the top 3. It's going to be Teddy Hodgson winning the inaugural Napa iRacing 100 at the virtual Stafford Motor Speedway. He was one of the favorites, Jeff, and in the end, he came out on top.
Now, we have some more points to focus on this week, so Bonta, why don't you tell us a little bit more?
Well, Jeff, the first point I want to talk about is the changes to the heat races, because unlike last week, as you mentioned, there will be cautions during the heat races. We have 2 heat races, each 10 laps. The top 5 from each heat race will advance to the feature, and there's no consies. With these cautions, though, the laps do not count because one caution can take 3 or 4 laps. So the question is now, will that turn the aggression up? Because we saw some unfortunate circumstances last week. For example, Corey Casagrande running into RJ Sodel's upside-down car while leading the Consi, forcing him to miss the feature race. So now with these cautions, do you be more aggressive because if there is a crash, you know that caution will come out? We'll have to wait and see. Next point I have is Teddy Hodgson. The question is who can beat him? We saw Teddy have an equal in Brian Narducci. Those 2 fought, and as you saw in the highlights. Made a little bit of contact in the turn 1, allowing Hodgson to take the lead. We saw Mike Christopher Jr. in that battle as well, but eventually Christopher got caught up in a couple of wrecks and finished in the back. So can anybody beat Teddy Hodgson? Can anyone surprise us? Anyone who wasn't running in the top 10 last week? Have they done enough practice with this setup to become faster this week? And my last point is no margin for errors in this feature. There's no resets, so if you get into a crash, any damage that you can get, especially engine damage, can be very costly to you. And if you get in any trouble, if you cause any accident with our race director Dylan Kopech, you can be put to the end of the line. And if you have trouble with your internet connection, that can also put you to the end of the line or park you. So those are 3 of the main points that we have to watch throughout tonight's heat races and the feature itself. So before we move on, let's give you the track preview for Stafford Motor Speedway.
Welcome to Stafford. This half-mile oval was built in 1870 for a different type of horsepower, horse racing, and then automobile racing took over after that. This place is not as flashy or fancy as the half miles that the Cup cars go to today, but this busy oval can still put on a fantastic show full of action for the fans and intense competition for the drivers. Uniquely banked, it poses a challenge for all comers. Turns 1 and 2 are banked at 9 degrees, where turns 3 and 4 are banked a little less at 7 degrees. The apron here at Stafford is known for being very wide but flat. Only the bravest of drivers with the utmost grip can make passes down there. Short tracks equal close racing and usually leads to shorter tempers. Keeping calm at Stafford rewards the drivers. It's like the old racing expression, to finish first, you must first finish. Corner exit tends to be the most challenging place on the track, where the fast lane sweeps right out of the corners towards that wall that awaits you. Stafford is an old, worn-out surface, so managing the tires is also key to finding victory lane here. All in all, Stafford poses a fun challenge to drivers, and it's always sure to put on a great show. So settle in, buckle up, it's bound to be a great race.
So that's the track preview video we have for Stafford Motor Speedway. And for those who aren't familiar with the racetrack and the information about the racetrack, Jeff, why don't you give them the information on what Stafford Motor Speedway is about?
Stafford Motor Speedway is a difficult place to get around for these drivers. It takes a lot of skill. It is a half-mile long. There are 4 turns, but 2 different degrees of banking. So in turns 1 and 2, you have 9 degrees. In turns 3 and 4, it's only 7.5. It's 80 laps here tonight. And this is a place, Stafford Motor Speedway, that has had a lot of legendary drivers that have succeeded here before they succeeded everywhere else. Ryan Preece, Ted Christopher, Mike Stefanik, Bob Potter, Bugsy Stevens, Richie Evans, and more all had to cut their teeth and grow at this very track. We're going to see a lot of hard racing here tonight. It's a driver's track. If you can't wheel your car around here better than anyone else, you're really going to have trouble even keeping it straight. We are coming down here with just 2 minutes left in practice before we head over to qualifying. These guys are going to have 2 laps and 5 minutes in order to get a place and line up for the heat races. Nobody is going to be locked in from qualifying. Everyone has to race their way in through the heats. If they can't do that, they'll have a chance at a consolation event in order to make the show. Nobody is promised a spot. Our defending winner, Teddy Hodgson, could go home. He's sitting very well so far, though. He's doing well in practice. He's out there turning laps, though. What we saw last week was he would go out, run 2 or 3, bring it in, and get new tires. Now, he's out there trying things out on the long run. I think he's expecting long green flag runs here this week, and he knows he has to be quick over that long period of time. He knocked Narducci last week to get the win, and he won by staying out front and staying out of trouble. But Narducci could be upset. We don't quite know about that. We need to just keep a close eye on him and make sure that he stays out of trouble.
Tell you what, it's funny because Brian Narducci talked with Brittany Noodley, who did a nice piece on the debut of the Stafford iRacing series last week in the Napa iRacing 100. Narducci joked saying, maybe this week I won't be as kind to the 55 cars. So, joking manner, but even online, the simulation, Jeff, you know it more than anyone else out of the broadcasters, and that you've raced on iRacing a lot. It's pretty competitive, even though it's online.
You are exactly right. The racing is virtual, the track is virtual, but the racing and the emotions and everything else are just as real. What we told these guys going in is we want a good, clean race and to race hard. Drive it like you own these cars. And the emotions behind the scenes are real. These drivers get frustrated, they get angry at one another, and we might see someone take out some aggression. If somebody cuts someone off, they might get a shot to the back bumper here. You never know.
Now, one concern with Teddy Hodgson, the slight concern, is that he competed in the race last night at Stafford, and during the race, under caution, his iRacing crashed, which can happen. So it cost him a couple laps. So, that factor is also there. For example, Corey Casagrande, the reason he started in the back of the consi was that he had an internet issue during qualifying, and his time trial laps did not count. So he had to start in the back of the field for the heat race, didn't make the heat race because of it, and then had to start in the consi event, and we know how that ended up with him hitting an upside-down car.
He was very frustrated. He was also mentioned in that article that Brittany wrote. So go ahead and give that a read if you want to see what these drivers are thinking. I believe Matt Vassar was also quoted in there. The Slim Reaper, he's looking to go out and have a good night. He was involved in some wrecks last week. But this week, he's thinking that tonight could be his night. That Hummel hot dog machine could be quick, but he's got a lot of competition here. Only 26 guys will make the field here tonight. So there will be different amounts from each heat race. Everyone has a chance there, but the consolation events, that is where things get aggressive, and these guys know they have one last chance to make the race. They are moving now to qualifying, 5 minutes and 2 laps to set the lineups for the heat races.
One other guy you gotta keep an eye on, I thought, is that Dylan Izzo is another one that can compete against Teddy Hodgson and such because he was really, really fast last week. So keep an eye on that black 04 car with the yellow numbers because he's been running top 3, top 5 lap times, and during the practice races, he's been up there as well. I think he's one that's got a shot. But right now, it's time for the time trials, and we talked about last week, and it still applies this week, Jeff. Track position is going to be critical.
You might have seen his live streams over on Facebook this morning, but Ryan Fern is who we're watching on track. He dove it hard into turns 1 and 2. He is blasting it off turns 3 and 4. You got to get a little closer to that wall there, Ryan, but he puts down the first time so far, and with an 18.953. A solid time, but he gets beat immediately by Mikey Flynn by just a thousandth of a second, with Mark Alcas now in front.
It's going to be a tight field, so even if you're a half a tenth behind, you could fall back 6 or 7 spots because that's just how tight things are. Mike Christopher Jr. has the fastest lap right now at an 18.874. Oh, never mind. Andrew Moeller, the second-year SK Modified driver Stafford, now has the fastest time at an 18.864, just 1/100th faster than Mike Christopher Jr. Matt Vassar's in third, Brian Narducci fourth. Nice qualifying run for Vassar. Tony Membrino in fifth, and that top 5 is separated by just half a tenth.
Kyle Johnson is coming out of turn 4 with a full head of steam, trying to beat Andrew Muller. That is a tall task here. Mike Christopher Jr. is a very skilled iRacer. He's been on here a long time. He competes in the tour mods alongside Brian Narducci quite regularly. Those guys were ranked 1 and 2, not in New England, not of the Stafford drivers, not even in their division, but in the world. Those guys were the 2 top tour mod iRacers. Right now, Teddy Hodgson's on pit road. We take a look at David Arute. He drives in the SK Modified Series at Stafford. Had a rough season last year, looking to turn around this year. But before he can do that, he's got to settle it out on here on iRacing. Puts down a lap so far. That last lap was a 20.001. He will be further back in the field. George Facette Jr. making his jump up to the SK Modifieds. Just put down the time. Joseph Eilert now is who we are keeping his eye on. He's not put down a lap. He goes high in turns 3 and 4 to build up as much speed as he can coming to the line for his first lap.
How about Travis Hydar? Hydar jumps to the top of the charts with an 18.851. He beats Andrew Moeller by 13 1,000ths of a second. So Travis Hydar in that 58 car, he moving up. 3-time street stock winner at Stafford Motor Speed.
Jacob Perry now is coming around the track, puts down a good time, 18.83.
Real
not
good time.
A real good time. Not going to be easy to beat that one there. He is sitting on the pole. Joseph Eilert, though, he is in 8th place. The last guy we are going to take a look at. He works over at Spark VR, so that's how he got into this event. So if you don't recognize that name from the track, don't worry. But now, Meservy is out there. He is making his run with 1 minute and 40 left in qualifying.
Yes, it's Doug Meservy. We promise we're going to get that right this time. But one concern I do have for Meservy is that last week he did have some internet connection issues. So hopefully that's resolved for him in that 67 car. Yes, he's one of the last cars to take time right now. Looking at the top 10, I mean, it's all 18.8s. It's basically the top 10 is within a tenth of each other. Good lap for Meservy, though. Third quickest, running an 18.863. He's going to try to do a second lap here. Each driver has 2 laps. So we'll see if he can pick up the pace. I don't normally see guys going fast on their second lap, but we'll just wait and see what Doug Meservy has here. Looks like he'll stay in the 3rd spot.
A car that has just hit the track. Teddy Hodgson waited until the end. How about an 18.764, the fastest time? He sat, he waited, and he shows these guys, I won last week, and that wasn't a fluke. He's out there on his second lap now. He's got the pole by, oh my goodness, half a tenth over everyone else. Second lap is a little bit slower, but you know what? That second lap still would have gotten him the pole. That's how quick he is.
How about Corey DiMatteo? He qualifies in the 4th spot, so he's going to get a good starting spot for the heat race. Good run for him. He didn't compete last week, but now he's in for this week as we're taking a look at Peter Bennett in the 50 car. He's going to take his couple laps right now. Teddy Hodgson, Peter Bennett up to second in 18.830. But so far, Teddy Hodgson, the only one to break the 18.7 bracket. Peter Bennett and Jacob Perry are tied, virtually the same tie at 18.830. So when I say that the field is very close, it's very close, and you have to be absolutely precise and perfect to have a good qualifying run. Teddy Hodgson's going to come out with the fastest time in the session.
The top 25 cars here were within 0.2 of a second. Everyone is close. The grid here for heat race number 1, Teddy Hodgson is on the pole. Corey DiMatteo starts second. Matt Vassar starts third, the Slim Reaper as we call him now. Tony Membrino in fourth. Matt Swanson will start fifth. Phil Jacks, I believe I'm pronouncing that right, maybe not, starts sixth. Pete Thickett, seventh. Tyler Leary in eighth. Nicholas Salva in ninth. Kyle Elwood in the 45 starts 10th. RJ Surdell had trouble last week, ended up on his roof, starts 11th, and that will be your field, the top 11 here, all fighting for just 5 spots to advance into the feature.
Now, once again, cautions are going to be on for this one, but the laps will not count, so it's got to be 10 green flag laps. I made a mistake earlier. We do have 2 consies. The plan is to have the top 3 from each consi advance to make that full 26 car field. I apologize for that. But it's going to be interesting. You got to keep an eye out with Corey DiMatteo. Obviously, he's fast in real life at Stafford in the SK Modifieds. He's come close to getting that win last season. How is he going to do? The top 5 have to advance, and the same mentality from last week is if you're running in that top 3, how hard do you race each other? Do you need to go at it, or just settle in, run in that top 3 position, just get yourself into the feature, not worry, because nobody's locked in, as you mentioned. There's no provisionals or anything as such, no champions provisional. Everyone's in the same situation. You have to race your way in or see your way out.
Phil Jakes is now the man that probably is the most nervous, I would say, because he's sitting right there in 6th place. He's starting on the outside. That is very difficult to do here at Stafford. You have to be as low as you possibly can. We're going to see a lot of guys get all 4 tires on the apron even. So Phil Jakes starts 6th. He's on the outside. He needs to gain at least 1 spot throughout the race, but everyone behind him, they are in the same position. Pete Thickett, Tyler Leary especially, we are going to see him be very aggressive, I imagine, to get up there to the front. He had a good run going last week, but ultimately not quite enough to beat Hodgson. He's pretty new to these modifieds, started off last year in the SK Mod Series, but he will be taking the green flag from 8th in this heat race, top 5 advance. Keep that in mind.
Looking at this top 5, you also got Tony Membrino, who didn't race last week. How is he going to do? He's had a little bit of issues connecting to the server, but he's in now, so hopefully everything will go smooth for him. He's starting in that 4th spot. Again, there's not much rubber laid down on the track, so that outside line may not be the most effective right now. We'll see as the races go on, as more rubber is laid down the bottom line, if that top group is going to be effective. We saw Teddy Hodgson last week. He was able to hold people off on the outside, but we really didn't see anybody make passes on the outside. You talked about Phil Jakes. He was going to make the race last week, but he got in an accident while being in that transfer spot. He wasn't happy about it, but he says he got to move on. So we'll see how he does as he starts in that 6th spot, 1 position outside the top 5 transfer spots.
You are right, and like you mentioned earlier, to circle back, the outside line is difficult here. They are running a fixed setup. It is custom made for them, though, to try and last as long as these guys will be running out there. So the pace car dives in. Hodgson controls the restart with Matt Vass on his back bumper. Hodgson can choose when he wants to go. He chooses to wait and wait. He hasn't gone yet. That 40 car cannot pass him. He's going to be black flagged, I imagine. He passed the leader before the start because Hodgson didn't go. So that could be a story here. The 40 isn't first, but could be black flagged.
Now, the rule with the 3-race series that we're having here is that at the green flag you go. When the game gives you the green flag at the original start of the race, you go. After that, on the restarts, oh, we got a big crash.
Phil Jakes is around in that wreck. Looked like
Yeah,
Tyler Leary was involved.
We were just talking about Phil Jakes, man. Tough luck last week, and tough luck here, and there's no reset. So how heavily damaged is that race car, and can he keep going?
That is a heavy, heavy impact there. You see him on the replay, just got a little bit tight on exit. when this wreck will come up. They're side by side down the backstretch though, diving into turn 3, coming around, he's losing ground, he's driving that car off as hard as he can, gets a bump, and gets up on his lid. That car is going to be damaged, it's going to be hard to drive, certainly some front end damage, it's not going to handle the way he's expecting.
That was Nick Salva that got together with Phil Jakes, and Jakes got some air, and we've seen some cars get some air in these last couple weeks with these races, but Jakes making his way on the pit road. You wonder how much damage he has and how much time it's going to take for him to repair that damage, because even though it's early on in the race and it's very tough that he wrecked already, anything can happen because these laps do not count. We still have 9 green flag laps to go through. There can still be chaos going on there at the track with the top 7 or top 8 remaining cars. So we'll see how the chips fall for Phil Jakes. Can he get back on track with at least a competitive car? Maybe not a winning car for the heat, but a competitive car that he can at least try and get back up to that top 5.
We are riding on, or we're not riding on board with him, excuse me. We are focusing on him, though, and we are going to be focusing on him through the rest of this race as he comes back down pit road and misses
That's
it.
not where pit road is. Nope.
That is not where pit road is, and he hits the cone going in as well. He's doing everything he to try and get around as fast as he can, stay on the lead lap here with these guys. Taking a look, though, up at the 40 car, Corey DiMatteo. No word from race control, so he is being scored as the leader. Teddy Hodgson will start on the outside, though. We haven't seen much movement through the field. Second went up to the guy that started second, went up to first. The guy that started first slid to second. Other than that, it's been pretty much the same throughout the field.
Now, the restarts here on the driver. The restart box is the middle of turns 3 and 4. So Corey DiMatteo has the option as to when he can go. Like the restarts we saw last week, we saw some mind games played between Hodgson and Narducci that eventually led to Narducci getting spun out on the restart. But Corey DiMatteo does have the option to start on the inside or the outside and when to go. Now, we would imagine he's going to obviously start on the inside line. That outside has not shown any effectiveness whatsoever throughout practice and this heat race. But again, the heat race is only 1 lap old.
That is certainly the case. You see the 40 car behind the pace car there was swerving back and forth, warming up his tires. The lights on the pace car are off. These guys are going to line back up side by side. It is going to be taking the green flag at lap 2. Remember, the caution laps do not count for this race right now. So these guys are going to restart right where they left off and go back to racing. They've still got plenty of time to get through the field if they need to. Matt Vassar in third is going to look to get a good restart right behind Corey DiMatteo and not let Hodgson in.
So we'll see. Teddy Hodgson is leaning ahead, trying to get that head start. We'll see how effective it is. It's not very effective. They get a little jumbled up on the restart, but DiMatteo does get ahead by a car length over Hodgson. The battle is going to be for the third spot between Matt Vassar and Tony Membrino. Going to keep an eye out on Phil Jakes. We know he's fast. Can he get back up there? Does his car have enough repair on it that he can get back to the top 5 as the field is single file through about the top 6?
The man on the outside looking in right now is Tyler Leary. He's sitting in 6th place. The guys behind them are battling side by side. That's sort of what he wants to see. He doesn't want any pressure from behind. But more than that, he wants those guys in front of him battling. If these guys are side by side, they're slower, and he wants to have a chance to get up to them. He's got about 3 car lengths, though, to that 3 car of Swanson, and it's just really difficult here to make up time when everyone is running the same setup.
And Swanson's been one of the faster cars on these fixed setups at Stafford. He was very fast last week, and he just ran the fastest lap. He ran 18.856, so he's doing a good job. He's doing what he's got to do in that 5th spot. You're riding on board with Teddy Hodgson. He's right on the bumper of Corey DiMatteo. DiMatteo has not been able to pull away. Looking at Phil Jakes, not making much progress. The only side-by-side battle right now is between Pete Thicket and Kyle Elwood. That's for the 7th spot. So far, the top 5 single file. No one really trying to move anywhere. As you're looking back at the battle mid-pack, Jakes gets a little bit loose off of 4 as they cross the stripe. We got 5 laps to go in the heat. 4 laps to go, pardon me.
Phil Jakes now, he is sitting in 9th place. That car just looks like it has a bit of damage on it. It's not driving the way he needs it to. He's got all 4 tires on the apron entering turn 3, driving it with everything he's got. Tyler Leary is about 4 tenths off of the guys in front of him, and you see the 45 right there gets right up to him. Can't do anything to thicket, though. Could make a move diving into turn 3. Keep an eye on that all night. The biggest place that you will see moves made here at Stafford is a dive bomb into turn 3. You put all 4 tires on the apron and you use your Nerf bar to push the guy up out of the way. It's a risky move and only use it when you need to. So back up to the front, though, Teddy Hodgson just 0.19 seconds behind the leader, Corey DiMatteo. He's not gaining much. He's also not losing much. They're pretty much single file. He doesn't need to do anything crazy here. If he finishes top 5, he'll advance to the feature, and second place, he's safe.
Now you wonder, this is a sign of things to come for DiMatteo. He's showing speed. Teddy Hodgson has been diving in deep there, coming in and out of the corners, but he's not going to have enough. DiMatteo will take the heat race. Teddy Hodgson in second, Matt Faster in third, Tony Membrino fourth, and Matt Swanson will get the last transfer spot in fifth. Tyler Leary, Pete Thicket, Kyle Elwood, Phil Jakes, RJ Serdell, Nick Salva will all have to try it again in the consolation race later on.
Heat race number 2 is going to be a good one. Peter Bennett will be starting on the pole. He drives Legends cars, and he is a Legends car extraordinaire. Starting in second, Doug Meservey. In third, Troy Talman. In fourth, Jonathan Pulio. Starting fifth is the 24 is Mikey Flynn. Sixth, Ryan Fern. Tim Jordan will be seventh. George Brissett Jr. starts eighth. Justin Brenn in ninth. Daniel Kutu, 10th. Mark Burke in 11th. And in 12th, Joshua Carey. Mikey Flynn had a rough week last week. He did make the feature barely by the skin of his teeth, but didn't take the grid. He had some troubles connecting. This week, he's hungry for more. He was fast in qualifying. He's fast every week, week in and week out. He is advancing from the SK Lights up into the SK Modifieds at Stafford this upcoming season. He had a very rough season last year, and you want a team that got kicked down multiple times and just was the epitome of pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's that team right there. I remember there was one point they lost an engine. It was completely destroyed in a race, and they were still out there after missing only 1 week. They had the entire car rebuilt, and they were out there, and they were fast competing for wins. And when they had a rough end to the season last year with no wins in the SK Lights, instead of taking their licks and saying, oh, well, we'll try again next year, they made the jump up to the SK Modifieds this upcoming season. Keep an eye on him in this race. He sits fifth and needs to hold his position. And keep an eye on him at Stafford every Friday night.
Another guy you got to keep an eye on is Timmy Jordan, that 47 car. One of the faster guys. You see him competing in the top 5 last week. Didn't get the best qualifying run right now. He's starting outside the top 5. If there's one guy that you think can get his way into the top 5, he's the guy to watch. So keep an eye on that 47 of Tim Jordan. And as you got George Brissett Jr. as well behind Tim. George Brissett showed a lot of speed last week. He had a top 5 run. We have to see what he can do. Obviously, he had a little bit of experience in SK Lights last season going full-time this year. He's had a lot of iRacing experience. We'll see what he can do. Watch out for that Timmy Jordan, George Brissett duo. They can make their way up to the top 5.
I know someone that's put in a lot of practice has been Ryan Fern. We'll see what he can do as they get ready for the green flag. They are bumping and banging in the back. Green flag is out. They are side by side, 6 lanes deep.
Man, they show a lot of antsiness on the start. We got to spin in the back. I believe that might have been George Brissett Jr. that I got a little bit sideways, but they straightened it out. Nice job by those guys. So they continue on in the front. Peter Bennett has the lead. Troy Talman is battling Doug Meservey for that second spot. They're 2 by 2 from second on back.
George Brissett Jr. is in a lot of trouble. That wreck didn't bring out a caution, but he was fully stopped there. He's in deep trouble if he wants to try and make the field here. Mikey Flynn holds that 5th position with Jonathan Pulio to the inside of the 67. Mikey Flynn is going to try and take advantage. Thought about going 3 wide and thought better of it. Now diving into turn 1, Mikey Flynn needs to make sure he stays to the inside of the 67, not let him get to the inside. Jonathan Pulio sits 3rd right now, though, and that 67 car is holding strong on the outside. Doug Meservey is doing everything he can to hold a top 5 spot.
Jonathan Pulio is another guy to watch. Last night during the practice race they had, he started back in the mid-20s and came all the way up to run in the top 5. He avoided the chaos and passed a lot of cars. So keep an eye on that 57 car. He's in a good spot in 3rd. Doug Meservey, though, he's in a bad spot. Oh, they touched.
Shot from the 47 of Tim Jordan going into turn 3, just a racing deal.
Yeah, Timmy Jordan was involved. Mikey Flynn. Again, Flynn running into some bad luck. But that's a big break for Daniel Kutu and George Brissett Jr., who had gotten together a couple laps ago. Now they have another chance to get to the top 5 transfer spot on the restart.
You can see these guys were racing hard side by side previously, and that 67 was doing everything he could to try and get down to the inside line. Going into turn 3 here, just a shot from the back bumper to the back bumper of the 24 from the 47. Tim Jordan sends him around. No major damage. I think these guys are all going to come out of it in one piece. A little angry, a little frustrated with each other. We'll have to see if that 24 can work his way back up, as well as the 47.
Timmy Jordan just got assessed an end of the line penalty for that contact, so he's going to pull it over and call it a heat race. He'll come back for the consolation race. But yes, Timmy Jordan was penalized for that contact and causing the accident in turn 3. Mark Burke also got a piece of that. Justin Brennan got a piece of it. Ryan Fern somehow was right in the middle of it. Didn't seem like he got much, if any, damage. He did a good job getting through that. But again, a big break for George Bissett Jr. We know he's one of the faster guys. Now he's back at the pack. Can he make his way up to the top 5? And it's a big break for Doug Meservey because he was stuck on that outside line as the accident happened. He was going to lose that 5th and final transfer spot. Now he's going to start on the outside again in 4th. So we'll see if he can try to get in line in front of Ryan Fern or behind Ryan Fern before getting stuck on the outside again.
Timing and scoring right now shows Mikey Flynn in 5th. So if that is the case and he does take the restart there, he is still safe. Only the top 5 will advance. Tim Jordan was issued an EOL, as we mentioned earlier, an end-of-the-line penalty, essentially a black flag where he starts behind everyone else. He immediately took his car behind the wall, though, so he might not even try in the consolation event. We will have to see coming up in the future. But the story now is in heat number 2, who will advance? George Bissett Jr. had a big break there, like you mentioned, got turned around on lap 1. Now he's got a chance to race his way in.
Mark Burke is one you got to keep an eye on as well. He's been doing a lot of practice. As you mentioned, Fern, he's right there, and he had a lot of bad luck last week getting into some accidents. He was practicing a lot this morning, Jeff. You were with him as he was practicing. Let's see how he can do here in that 5th and final spot as they go back to green. Good start for Peter Bennett. He gets the jump on Troy Talman. Settling in the 3rd is Pulio. Ryan Fern does get past Meservey, goes up to 4th. Justin Bren just hit the wall off of turn 2, but never spun it around, so we'll keep it green. When they come back around, there's going to be 5 laps to go in this second heat race.
Justin Bren didn't hit the wall. He got pushed up into the wall. Everyone is racing for everything right now. Doug Meservey right now is the odd man out. Oh, excuse me, George Bissett Jr. is the odd man out as Doug Meservey tries to get around that 12-car Ryan Fern. Ryan's been putting in a lot of practice and knows he has to block that bottom line if he's going to hold on to it. But Bissett really needs to get up to that back bumper if he's going to have a chance of advancing into the race.
One car spun off of turn 4. One car spun off of turn 4. Josh Carey spun out. He spun out again trying to get the car going. He's in the grass in turn 4. He's going to come up in front of the leaders. Oh, watch out, guys. Peter Bennett and the rest of the group have to dive down inside of Carey, who finally gets the car going. He spun out in turn 4. That's him on the outside line getting passed right now. When he got the car going, he spun out again and came up the track. He just hit the wall off of 2. It's been a rough lap for Josh Carey. But looking back in the transfer spot, George Bissett Jr. is reeling in Doug Meservey, and Doug Meservey is reeling in Ryan Fern. There's just 2 more laps to go in this heat. This is going to get really interesting.
You are exactly right. We are watching Bennett here. He is leading the way around. He's not putting any strain on those tires. He's just cruising around, hitting his marks. You'll see other guys behind him taking it to the apron, trying to get a little bit more speed off. But right now, it's looking like Doug Meservey has about a 0.9-second lead over the transfer spot. But Peter Bennett, focusing on him, he is the star of this show in the final lap as he comes around off turn 4 to take the checkered flag and win his heat race.
Now, George Bissett Jr., with 2 laps to go, a lap and a half to go, got very loose off of turn 2 and lost a ton of ground to Meservey. And that was the difference because he was reeling in that 67 car, but he got loose off of 2 and lost a lot of ground as a result. So he's going to have to try and get in through the consolation race.
Taking the grid for heat number 3 in first is Jacob Perry, Andrew Muller in second, Brian Narducci. We saw him have a good week last week until some contact with Hodgson. Will start third. Dylan Izzo in fourth, Cameron Sontag in fifth, Kyle Johnson will start sixth, David Arute in the 75 starts seventh, Kevin Crosby in 8th. Marcello Ruffrano will join us this week starting 9th. JB Fortin starts 10th, and Andrew Les starts 11th.
Marcello Ruffano, as you mentioned, joining us this weekend. Obviously, he shows a lot of speed in real life, whether it was in the SK mods or the SK lights. He hasn't done iRacing in a while, though, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do in these 10 laps. John Fortin, a modified tour driver, we'll see what he can do starting in the back. He's got some work to do. Andrew Les starting in 11th. But looking at that top four, Jacob Perry, Andrew Moeller, Brian Arducci, and Dylan Izzo, those are four of the faster guys who see at Stafford last weekend, or last Friday, I should say. So you just wonder how hard those four are going to go at it. Cameron Sontag joining us this week. He didn't race last week. So a lot of newcomers this week compared to last, and we'll see how they perform here. Some have a lot of iRacing experience, some don't have a lot. And we'll see what happens here in these 10 laps.
Brian Narducci had some trouble firing off the grid there. That's why you don't see his car quite yet. He's coming around now. Looks like he's got everything all sorted out. I don't know what exactly was going on, but his car was just coasting. Something definitely was not right. So he will resume his spot in 3rd place. And now, as we get ready to go green, it is 1 lap left here under pacing. Jacob Perry had a great lap in 1883 in qualifying. And now Andrew Muller sits on the outside. Oh, Brian barely gets up to the front in time, but the 5 won't let him in. We could see a 3-wide start here. He's got to get in front of the 5. There we go. All sorted out, and the inside line gets the jump. Narducci right behind our leader, Jacob Perry. Oh, contact!
Yeah, a couple cars spinning in turn 1. Dylan Izzo's one of them. David Arute as well. But it looks like we're going to keep it going green. So tough break for those guys in the first lap of the heat. Right now, looking at the top 3, you got Jacob Perry, Andrew Moeller, Brian Arducci. John Fortin's battling Kyle Johnson for that 4th spot. But right now, it's Kyle Johnson that has that final transfer position. But he's got a couple cars behind him, and Cameron Sontag and Andrew Les. A very chaotic start. And Dylan Izzo, one of the heavy hitters again, running into trouble on the first lap. Andrew Moeller having a slight issue with his connection. We've seen him blinking a couple times. Right now, he's right behind Jacob Perry. There's Dylan Izzo. Very tough break for him. He's going to need a caution if he wants to get in through the heat race and not go through the consolations.
Everyone wants to have their night set up by just getting in through the heat races. Sitting in the transfer position right now is Kyle Johnson. He just needs to cruise. He's got Cameron Sontag behind him. And if you look at the lap times, Sontag is pretty much dead even with them. They're within 0.005 of a second their last lap. So all Kyle Johnson needs to do is just hit his marks these next couple laps, and he will advance. Back up to the front, though, Jacob Perry is running well. He needs to just keep doing what he's doing. Andrew Muller hasn't gotten a run on him yet. They don't need to race too hard up here at the front. They all have plenty of space to the guys behind them. They all know that if things just run the way they are, they're going to make the feature. I think that's mainly the focus, is making a race before you worry about winning the heat race.
Now, what that wreck in turn 1 on lap 1 did, it spread the field out big time. I don't even know if you can get a caution because everyone's spread out. The closest cars on track are actually the top 3 in Perry, Moeller, and Narducci. Now, Moeller is keeping track with Perry. We'll see if he tries to make a move. He does push up wide off of 4 and blinks. He almost caught the wall off the corner. But right now, the top 3, it's Jacob Perry, Andrew Moeller, and Brian Narducci. He almost got into a car on the pace laps trying to get back to the front of the grid. That could have been chaotic with these cars not having resets. But all is well so far.
That 34 car that you are watching right now, he is trying to just make sure he keeps everything in line. John needs to just keep doing what he's doing. But that's a tough track. We saw earlier it's easy to get up into the wall. It's easy to make a small mistake and lose some ground, or at worst, spin the car out. You have to do everything you can to make sure you're hitting your marks before you worry about the guys around you.
We got a lap and a half left in this heat race, and also, if you touch the wall with these cars, you might actually climb up the wall, so that could be a disaster in and of itself just by one little harmless tap to the wall. Looking up front, Jacob Perry is in the front with 1 lap to go in the heat race. Moeller is starting to lose a little bit of ground over Jacob Perry. The gap's about 3 or 4 car lengths. Narducci right on the bumper of Moeller, but I don't think these guys are going to race that hard. They're good to go. Fortin's looking good to go. Johnson, he's got a sizable gap of about 2 seconds, or a second I should say, over the 6th place car Sontag. So Jacob Perry will take the 3rd heat. Andrew Moeller 2nd, Brian Narducci 3rd, John Fortin 4th, and Kyle Johnson transfers in the 5th spot. Cameron Sontag, Andrew Less, David Arute, Marcello Refrano, Dylan Izzo, and Kevin Crosby will have to try in the consolation race.
For heat race number 4, starting at the beginning, Travis Haidar will take the pole. Mike Christopher Jr. in second, Joseph Eilert in third. Corey Casagrande had a rough week last week, looking to go out and make the feature this week. Mark Alkes is in fifth. Robert Sturck starts sixth. Cassandra Cole in seventh. Paul Buzel in eighth. Sal Cardi in ninth. Dalton McCarthy in 10th, and Amy Catalano is the registered name. I believe that's Timmy Catalano.
Yep. Timmy Catalano. Now, Travis Haidar showed a lot of speed during that qualifying session, but Mike Christopher Jr. is going to be a tough one to beat. As you mentioned, Mike Jr. won the best modified races on iRacing. Corey Casagrande, though, he showed speed in that consolation race. When he was starting in the front, he was able to stay in the front, and if it wasn't for that bad luck, he would have made the feature. And he says he's still a little bit sour about that, but at the same time, no need to get worked up about it. He's just got to get ready for this upcoming heat race and get in now instead of trying again through the consolation race and run into some more chaos. But we've seen when a couple of cars get together and they spin out or they get sideways, they lose a lot of ground, but it may not bring the caution out. And it really cost some of those guys in the last heat race, like Dylan Izzo, when the heat race went caution free, he had no chance to recover and get back up to that top 5 transfer spot. So we'll see. Mark Alkes in that 5th spot. Can he hold off Robert Sturck, Cassandra Cole, who's making her debut in this series? She didn't race last week. Salicardi showed some speed as well, so it'll be interesting to see who will try and rise up and who might fall back.
Someone that wants to rise up is starting in 6th place, Robert Sturck, and he is stuck right in between the 7 and the 9 cars. Nowhere for him to go. He's just got to race it out, try outside rolling, gets into the 37 and goes around. No caution yet. Everyone keeps it straight, but that is a huge implication there. They're 3 wide going into turn 3. They're 4 wide and they go around. That's going to end it. That brings out the caution.
Timmy Catalano's involved. A couple other cars spinning around. Sturck is in it. They were 3 and 4 wide. Joseph Eilert got a piece of that. It was just really congested after that close call in turn 1. And we saw 3 wide work last week at the front of the field, but here it didn't quite work. Just some contact that looked like Timmy Catalano making contact with Joseph Eilert, and poor Sturck, just a rough start in that 6th spot just outside the transfer. Gets knocked around turn 1, knocked around turn 4, but luckily the caution comes out this time unlike in turn 1, and he'll get a chance for a restart.
It's aggressive driving out here. Everyone wants to make the feature without having to worry about the consolation event. Only 5 people of the 11th that take the grid will make it into the feature race without having to worry about the consolation. Only 3 will advance from each consolation race. Robert Sturck right now, we're riding on board with him. You see him sitting right behind that 37 car. He knows he just needs to keep hitting his marks. He had a good qualifying effort. He just needs to keep it clean here with the pace with the rate at the rate at which this race is going, this heat race is going, excuse me there. He knows he just needs to be consistent and get up into that top 5. You take a look at that 37 car, you see Spark VR. They are a sponsor for the Stafford Motor Speedway. And right now they have one of their workers, one of their founders, driving the car this week and showing off their brand. We are thankful to them for helping us out here at Stafford Motor Speedway. We're thankful for all of our sponsors as well.
iRacing being one of those contingency sponsors. And looking at the situation with the transfer spot, that 5th and final spot belongs to Cassandra Cole, who raced in the SK Light Division. We'll see how she can hold on here in the top 5. We see that 5th, 6th, 7th spot is kind of like the eye of the storm. That's where the chaos is happening right now. We'll see if they try to take it easy this time, because they really didn't even get one green flag lap in. They're going to restart with 10 laps to go in this 10-lap heat race. So Cassandra Cole's got Paul Buzel right next to him, and then you got a couple cars who are involved in wrecks. How much do those cars get affected by the possible damage they could be having, whether they hit through netcode or actually physically hit the car in front or behind them, is yet to be seen. But Travis Haidar, that black 58 car, a new look for that 58 car, he was racing a more silver car last week, looks pretty good and looks even better out front.
It looks awfully quick as he gets a good jump down there on the inside. Mike Christopher Jr. in second will just fall in line behind. Corey Casagrande in third, Cassandra Cole in fourth. Mark Alkas holds the fifth spot, but he's having some issues, and there is a wreck. The 20 car involved again, as we
Timmy
see that
Catalano as
tempers are
well.
high. Mark
Yeah,
Alkas
I
has been
think that
disqualified by race control.
I think that started when Mark Alkis got sideways in turn two because he was blinking. He was blinking pretty badly, and he was doing that during the practice races as well. I think that started with him. He got a little bit sideways, and that kind of stacked the field up. And unfortunately, Timmy Catalano involved in that accident as well as Robert Sturck. Again, starting in that 7th to 10th spot, that's where the craziness may happen. And the thing with these heat races this week, we have 4 heats compared to 3 last week. So it's a smaller field. The biggest field we had in this heat has been 12 cars. So less people in the field. We're getting a little bit more clean racing so far. But again, tough luck for those guys in the back. They're going to have to try it again. Cassandra Cole able to move up to 4th. So that 5th spot right now belongs to
Sal Accardi sitting fifth.
Cardi. He raced a different number last week, so he's racing the 41 this week.
We love to see these guys returning, though. It is awesome to see. A lot of guys gave us great feedback last week, and we incorporated it this week as much as we could to bring as good of a racing action as possible. So right now, these guys are out there racing. Thankfully, we have a race director working behind the scenes to ensure fair competition. But Salicardi right now is sitting in 5th place, and he is in the prime transfer spot. He has to make sure he holds everyone off and gets a good restart here.
Now you gotta feel for Mark Alkus because sometimes those connectivity issues are outside of your control. So it's very unfortunate that he got disqualified. And he was telling me this past week that he was expecting to do better because he had to change a couple settings on iRacing. If you're not new to iRacing, you have the default camera settings and such. He said that he had to turn so much to the left with his wheel that he was scrubbing off speed. So he was able to adjust the steering sensitivity as well as change the camera perspective where he's more zoomed in, and it gave him a better feel. So for some of these guys who are still trying to get an understanding of what the best settings are, settings can make a big difference, Jeff, as you probably know.
As someone who's done a lot of iRacing, more than I'm proud to admit, settings make a big difference. But you have to balance everything. Make sure you're not straining your computer as well. When you turn up one thing, if you're already running at capacity, you might have to turn down another. But we can discuss that more right after this restart. Travis Hydar jumps down to the inside. Mike Christopher Jr. trying to get clear. That 7 car, and he is right now. Let's see if he makes the move to cut it down to the bottom. He does. They are side by side, and they're going around towards the back, but they hold it all together.
I think that was Timmy Catalano in the back of the pack. Again, tough luck for Timmy as he got sideways. He straightened it out, though. Looking for that battle in the 4th position. Cassandra Cole stuck on the outside of Salicardi. Meanwhile, up front, Haidar and Mike Christopher Jr. trying to pull away from Corey Casagrande. But the battle remains for that 4th spot. And right behind that battle, you also got Paul Buzel. Better watch out. They're getting pretty tight. Got trouble in the back of the pack. One car spins into the infield grass. That's Joseph Eilart. No caution, though, as he spun out to the infield. Not a hazard on the track, so he'll keep going in turn 3. Looking up front, though, back in turn 1, Haidar and Mike Christopher Jr. continue to run top 2. That battle rages on for that 4th, 5th, and 6th position.
Cassandra Cole is right now sitting in 6th, but take a look at Mike Christopher Jr. He's doing what he needs to do to just stay in that 2nd position. He knows that he will advance if he stays there. Nothing crazy happens. They've got 5 laps to go here now. Mike Christopher Jr. just riding along. He doesn't need to go and beat down the back bumper of Travis Hydar. I don't think he's going to get the opportunity to. They are running almost identical lap times, just a few thousandths apart from each other.
The hot seat right now is on Paul Buzel running in that final spot to transfer. Cassandra Cole, starting on that outside line, had a really rough going in the first couple laps. She's still hanging on to the back bumper of Buzel. Can she make the pass and get her way into the feature? There's only 4 laps to go, 3 when they come back to the line. It's bumper to bumper between those two as they come off of 4. Salicardi's right in front of them. He's not exactly safe. He's right there in that midst of the battle. And behind them, Dalton McCarthy, who got into the consolation race last week, winning that event. Not quite there in the battle. He's kind of lagging back, so he may have to wait to the consolation event. There's just 2 laps to go, and they come back to the line, though, and that battle continues for 4th and 6th.
Up front here, those 3 in front have pulled away from the battle for 4th. Right now, the front 2 have pulled away from Casa Grande back there as we see a little bit of contact racing for that last transfer spot. Salicardi is on the outside. Cassandra Cole trying to make the inside work. Thought about going 3 wide, thinks better of it though. For the 41 Sal, he's stuck on that outside. He really needs to get to the bottom if he's going to transfer. White flag is out. Oh, Cassandra gets loose.
Yeah, she got loose off of 2, and that might have been the difference maker as Travis Hyder will lead the field back to the checker flag to win the heat race. And because of that wiggle, the last transfer spot is going to go to Salicardi. Cassandra Cole was on the inside of Sal off of 2, but got a little bit loose. She's going to have to try and get in through the consolation race. Same with Dalton McCarthy and Timmy Catalano. Poor Timmy. Really tough luck in that race. 3 separate incidents, not really of his own doing. But now it's time for the consolation race. The top 3 from each consolation event, there's 2 of them in total, will make their way to the feature.
Leading the grid here for the consolation event number 1, Tyler Leary. In second, Cameron Sontag. In third, Pete Thickett. In fourth, Andrew Les. Fifth is Kyle Elwood. David O'Root starts sixth. Phil Jakes had some trouble, ended up pretty much on his roof in his heat race, starts seventh. Dylan Izzo in eighth. RJ Siddell in ninth. Marcello Frano in 10th. And Tim Jordan rounds out the field in 11th, but he is not here to take the green flag.
Really unfortunate because Timmy Jordan having to start in the back, he might be one of those guys that can make his way to the front, but unfortunately because of that penalty, he's not going to continue on. So we'll see how this goes. Tyler Leary obviously in the best spot starting on the pole. He's shown some speed, and last week he was a magician trying to get through wrecks and somehow getting through them. So we'll see how he does, but that real big question mark is in that 4th position. How is Andrew Les going to deal with starting on that outside line? Because that outside of row 2 has been a trouble spot in terms of trying to hold on to that transfer position.
Keep in mind, in the heat races, it was the top 5 that advanced. In these consolation events, the top 3 will move on. If the race ended right now, it'd be Tyler Leary, Cameron Sontag, and Pete Thickett. That's it. So Andrew Les starting in 4th needs to make something happen here. Kyle Elwood, David O'Root especially. He was in the event last week, made it by the skin of his teeth. You might have seen brother Paul O'Root joking with him on Twitter, and we had a count going on if we thought he would make it or not, and he did make the event, but right now, he needs to gain 3 spots in this consolation event. Tyler Leary controls the field and takes the restart. Green flag coming out momentarily. There it is. He holds, and then he goes. They are dead even at the line. They are 2 wide, 5 deep.
Another guy to keep an eye on the start is Cameron Sontag. Can he get to that bottom line? He actually gets a pretty good run off of 2. We got trouble in the back of the pack. David O'Root has crashed. Another car is involved. No caution yet, though. They're going to keep going. The battle's for second right now. Phil Jakes just got bumped behind, but keeps it going. Car in the wall off of 4. That's Sontag, I believe. They continue on, though. Nobody spun out, so we stay on green flag. Tyler Leary in first. Pete Thickett ends up in second. That smoking car on the right side of your screen is David O'Root. He has blown an engine. That's going to be it for him, but the yellow does come out, though, in the end.
David O'Root's night is over. They don't have any fast repairs anymore this week. That is his night ending. He will not make the feature event.
That's very unfortunate for David.
It is. It certainly is. Taking a look at the replay, though, David O'Root just got involved in an early race incident. They were beating and banging before the green flag, coming across the line and going into turn 1. He's trying to get down to that bottom. Little bit of contact with Phil Jakes, it looks like, and then just sent by the 04 Dylan Izzo, and hitting that wall at a 90-degree angle, just blew his engine right up. Had to get it refired and back down to the bottom. But take another look at his in-car camera.
Yeah, it might have been contact as well with RJ Siddell. I think it was a combination of those two getting together, and poor David O'Root, just an innocent bystander. And yeah, when you hit head-on like that, whether it's virtual or in real life, it's not going to be good. So it looks like David Root will not make it to the feature race. Tough blow for that 75 car. But looking ahead now, after that brief green flag stint, again, caution laps don't count, so we still got ways to go. Tyler Leary's in first, Pete Thickett up to second, Kyle Elwood in third. The big loser on that start was Sontag. He's on pit road right now. He slammed the wall off of 4, and he might fall a lap down because of it. He's still in the pits right now. I was talking about that second spot being a tough spot to be in when you have the top 3 transferring to the feature race. And for poor Sontag starting in second spot, he remains in the pits. A lot of damage in that car, it looks like, after he slammed the outside wall. It looks like he will not make it to the feature.
There's no fast repair this week, as we mentioned earlier. It's very difficult for these guys. It encourages cleaner driving. Now they don't have any crutch to rely on. However, if they get caught in someone else's wreck and catch the short end of the stick, like we just saw David Arute do, he's out of this race and he's out of the feature. And that's a tough blow, as we mentioned. But now they are getting ready to go back 2 wide soon here as the pace car lights remain on. These guys are just making sure everything is right before they go back for a double file restart here and get rolling again in Wisconsin.
Yeah, they only got 1 green flag lap in, so there'll be 9 laps to go and they try again. Another guy to keep an eye on the back there with Dylan Izzo's Marcello Refrano. Again, hasn't played iRacing in a while. We gotta wonder, is he got a chance? Oh, he almost hit RJ Serdell. They checked up in front of him. Andrew Les looked like had to check up. RJ Serdell almost hit Les, and then Marcello almost rear-ended Serdell. That could have been a disaster because, again, no reset. If you have some sort of excursion under caution that damages your car, you're out of luck. But luckily they didn't get together. They keep it going in one piece. Dylan Izzo in the very back. So we'll see how this goes right now. Sontang is back on track right now. He's making his way back to the back of the field. They're going to have a restart here with 9 laps to go. Now Pete Thicket is starting in that second spot. Can he get in line in front of that 45 car of Kyle Elwood and Bill Jakes? Can he get in line as well? The bottom is the place to be right now.
You need a good run on the bottom to make a pass here, especially when the track isn't rubbered up and these guys are racing as aggressively as they are. Bill Jakes has an opening to the bottom. He's going to take it. Tyler Leary out in front. He's got about 3 car length lead. They are battling side by side for second, but the 45 has the advantage. Kyle Elwood score him in second place, but Pete Thicket is going to take that sitting down. But Elwood, all he needs to look at is that back bumper of Tyler Leary in front of him. My advice to the 45, don't even look in your rear view. If you want to win this consolation event, focus on Leary and get around him. That is your main goal.
Pete Thicket got a little bit loose last time by off of turn 2, but kept it going, straightened it out. He's got a miracle of Phil Jakes, though, in that 4th position. The top 3 advanced. Behind them, a bit of a gap back to Andrew Les of about half a second, so Jakes is in a good spot to try and battle hard against Thicket, but it's not easy to pass with these fixed steps. We got a crash in turn 1. It's Andrew Les and a couple others getting together. We got about 3 or 4 cars that have spun off of turn 2, and that'll bring out the yellow once again. Marcello Refrano is involved. A couple other more involved. Dylan Izzo got a piece, I believe. RJ Serdell. So about 4 or 5 cars that were involved in that incident, and they'll take the green flag after this caution flag is over with 6 laps to go.
Taking a look back at the replay, it started a bit further back in the field. You see the 26 of Refrano just trying to make a move down on the bottom that Les was trying to block. Just those 2 guys got together. But Marcello Refrano has been given an EOL by race control for that caution.
They got together again on that
Now,
replay.
yeah, they got together a second time. So, Marcello Refrano will take the green flag from the back. I don't know if there's any hard feelings that could carry over if these guys make the feature event. Nothing is out of the realm of possibility.
Now, David Root is back on track, so you wonder how much damage he got repaired. Same thing with Sontag. They gained a couple of positions because of that multi-car accident in turn 1. So, who knows? David might still be in it. I don't know if he's multiple laps down like Sontag. They did spend a lot of time on pit road. He's 1 lap down, actually. So, we'll see if they can catch a break. I don't know. It's going to be really tough to come from a lap behind and get into the transfer spot. But we've seen crazier things happen, Jeff.
We certainly have, and one thing that I want to talk about here is if you take a look at the front end of these cars, you'll see that the tires are tilted in. That's what helps these cars turn around here. We call that, oh my goodness, we call that camber, and what that will do is help the car turn in the corner. You can see it right here as David Root drives right over our camera. The more that tire is tilted in, the easier it is to roll through these turns, especially when it's flat like that. And it's especially aggressive here at Stafford. The downside to that is the more the tire is cambered, the more it wears out because you're putting more force on a smaller section of tire. The same amount of force goes there, but on a smaller section of tire, it wears it out a lot quicker. So these guys have to be careful and make sure to take care of their tires.
Now, Cameron Sontag is on the lead lap, so he is still in it. He is still in it right now. As mentioned, David Root is the only car lap down right now in this final, or this first consolation race. Again, the top 3 will advance. Tyler Leary doing his job, getting the restarts that he needs. because he can control it and he can go in the middle 3 and 4. So he has a lot of options as to when to start or when to hold. And so far, he's been able to get at least a car length on the second place car of Kyle Elwood. Again, Pete Thicket in third, Phil Jakes in fourth. Sontag right now is in the 5th position on the track, but he's actually in 9th. RJ Serdell, or excuse me, Sontag is in 5th, Serdell in 6th. Running in 7th is Andrew Less, Dylan Izzo in 8th. David Root is a lap down, so Marcello is in 9th, and David Root is final in the leaderboard. He's in the 10th position.
The Stafford Speedway EU Series would not be possible without all of our sponsors. Thank you to every single one of them. We get ready to go back green here. We hope you are enjoying this virtual race here tonight. We wish we were at the actual track, but this is the best we can do. Stay home, stay safe, stay healthy. Keep watching as we see Tyler Leary lead the field to green. He's holding them, and he goes early. And the inside line gets rolling. Phil Jakes, though, has to make something work on the outside. If he wants a chance at advancing to the feature, he gets a little bit of nerf bar from that 99 car. Phil Jakes needs to gain a couple more spots, but he's falling back quick.
He just got the wall off of 2. He got clipped by RJ Serdell and got the wall off of 2. He actually had the edge for that 3rd spot, but it looked like he got doored up the racetrack and lost a lot of ground because of it, and then got clipped by RJ off of 2 to hit the wall. He's fallen all the way back behind David Rudin, right in front of Andrew Less. But looking up front right now, Leary, Elwood, Thicket, and Izzo is now in the 4th spot. No, Sontag is in the 4th spot. They continue to battle. Sontag has an issue, it looks like, but Izzo's in that 4th position. Can he catch up to Thicket, though, with 3 laps to go?
That is a tall order for him. Right now, the top 3 have all but pulled away from the field. We call that about a $5 Uber ride to 3rd place from Dylan Izzo's perspective. He's got a lot of ground to make up in just a couple laps here. 3 to go. Only 3 will advance from the feature. Take a look here with Thicket. He's doing everything he can to make sure he doesn't make a mistake and give up any ground to Dylan Izzo. Izzo is quick, and for him to not make the feature, I imagine he's going to be quite heartbroken over it, dare I say so.
Tell you what, off of turn 2, got trouble. It's Marcello Refrano that spun the infield grass. He and David Root were making contact the lap before. They finally got together again, spun out, but this is the last lap. No yellow as a result. As Tyler Leary leads Kyle Elwood off of 4, he's going to take the first consolation race. Pete Thicket gets the last transfer spot in 3rd, and Dylan Izzo, the first one out, he will not make it to the feature. Same with Phil Jakes and the rest of the field. Crazy race, a lot of things happening, but Tyler Leary gets the job done, does what he needs to do, and he and Kyle Elwood, I think, were settling for those top 2 spots. No need to race hard as we get ready for the final consolation race before the warm-up.
We saw a lot of big names not make the feature right there. Phil Jakes, Marcello Refrano, Dylan Izzo, David Root. Those were guys we were all expecting to see transfer, and they unfortunately did not. That's just the way it is sometimes with racing. Taking a look at the field for this second consolation race, George Bissett Jr. starts in 1st with Cassandra Cole on his outside. Mark Burke starts 3rd. Dalton McCarthy in 4th. Dylan Kutu in 5th. Timmy Catalano starts 6th. Mikey Flynn had a rough ending to his heat race there. Starts 7th. Joseph Eiler in 8th. Justin Bren starts 9th. Nicholas Salva in 10th. Kevin Crosby 11th. And that is your field. Mikey Flynn starts 7th, needs to gain 4 spots. Justin Bren as well needs to gain 6 spots in order to have a chance to advance into this race. Everyone out here is looking for those 3 coveted spots. It's going to be a very interesting race here. They have to give everything they've got if they want to make the feature. Otherwise, they're going home.
Now, what bit Cassandra Cole last time is that she started in the outside row in front of the final transfer spot. She's in that same situation again with the top 3 making through. She's starting in 2nd. She's on the outside line, right in front of the 3rd place car, Dalton McCarthy. So you got to wonder, can she get in line? Or excuse me, Mark Burke's in 3rd. Can she get in line in front of Burke? I think that's going to be the key for her. Can she get in line in front of Burke? Can she get a gap between Bissett and that 77 car and file in line? Because the last time she was stuck on the outside, it cost her a chance at getting into the feature. She doesn't want to do that again.
You're right. And one thing we have to consider is the emotions that these drivers are feeling right now. Like we said, this is virtual racing, but the emotions are real. I can guarantee you everyone out there, they're nervous. They've got that feeling in the pit of their stomach. They know they're not going to get to race here in this feature event in front of all 800 people watching right now. They want to put on a good show. They want to go out and show their skills and win this race. It's a fixed setup. It's all about bragging rights, and that is more important than money, than a prize, a trophy, anything else. Is bragging rights going into the season. And everyone here is nervous, and they want to make this event here 3 people can of the 11 taking the race.
Well, they're going to come off of 4 here as the pace car drops off. This is the final chance to get into the feature race. Great start by George Bissett Jr. He will clear Cassandra Cole, and that's exactly what Cassandra wanted. Now she's in that second spot. The battle's for third between Mark Burke and Dalton McCarthy. Here comes Timmy Catalano underneath McCarthy. He's going to take that 4th position. And settling behind them is the 33 car Daniel Kutu, Mikey Flynn right behind the 33, Justin Bren. As the field comes off of 4 to complete lap 1, the 33 Akuta gets sideways off of 4. Flynn's able to stay off the back bumper of that 33 car. Bren takes a look underneath Mikey Flynn, but holds back as the field comes off of 2.
Mikey Flynn got all sorts of checked up there at the beginning. The 33 in front of him. I imagine the patience is getting quite short as we see the Nerf bar there. Flynn gives it to him and holds onto it. I think that was some real aggressive racing right there. The 33 had been blocking since the green flag, really. And Mikey Flynn said enough was enough. Dove it into turn 3, used the Nerf bar. That's where you make passes here at Stafford. And just gave that Nerf bar to the 33.
Yeah, tough break for Daniel Kutu as he gets the car going at the start-finish line. We'll see how much damage he may have on that car. Tried to hang on to it, but couldn't quite do it. Spun it around and brought the caution out with 8 laps to go in this consolation race. But George Bissett Jr. gained that big jump on the original start. Is exactly what Cassandra Cole needed as we take a replay right now. Mikey Flynn crossing underneath that 33 car. I don't know. It looked like Flynn might have gone up into Kutu, and Kutu hammers the wall. And like I said, Kutu, when you climb up that wall, it can give you some air. And there was a car that teleported right through Kutu. That's the best record points I've seen so far.
Flynn certainly came up. I think that was Mikey Flynn's way of saying, I'm not getting bullied around again. But Dalton McCarthy has been given an EOL penalty right now. Joseph Eilert has been black flagged, so race control is doing their job handling this race. So tempers are flaring, boys. Tempers are certainly flaring.
Yeah, well, this is it. This is the final chance, as you mentioned. Top 3 get in. I'm curious to see what George Bissett Jr. is going to do here on this restart. Is he going to go immediately like last time, or is he going to hold it until they come off the turn 4 and bunch the field up and then get the jump? Timmy Catalano did a good job on that restart, able to move up a position. Once again, now he's starting on that inside row, or the outside row though. So can he get in line behind Burke? Burke's got that final transfer spot, and Mikey Flynn, we'll see what he can do. He had a lot of bad luck last week in the heat and in the consolation race. Will the luck turn his way? Justin Brent competed last week as well. There's a chance he may not make it. Joseph Eilard as well. He had some bad luck in the heat spinning out. There's a lot that can go on in 8 laps, and with the caution laps not counting, there's still plenty of time, relatively speaking, in this race.
Taking this restart now, you mentioned Mikey Flynn. He's taking the restart in 5th place. He will be on the inside line. I think he might be able to get a good run there. He's been really strong on restarts, keeping up to the guy in front of him. And by doing that, he'll be able to get to the inside of 4th place and try and gain that spot. All he has to do then is gain 1 more position. That's what's going through his mind, though. You see Hamden Engineering on the back of his car. They do a great job bringing a good piece of the track every week for him at the real Stafford Motor Speedway. Hopefully he can do them good here and make it to the feature event tonight.
One slight cause for concern is that 8 car Nick Salva. He is blinking a bit. He was the one that I said was teleporting right through that 33 car Kutu. But yes, Nick Salva, who was showing some speed and had a chance to get into the heat race last race, having trouble with his connection right now, and you wonder how that might affect him. And with Dalton McCarthy, he won his consolation race last week. Can he pull it off 2 in a row? Can the Wild Thing Kart graduate do it and get into the feature? Looks like we're about 1 lap away from the green flag. There's going to be 8 laps to go when they come back to the stripe. Looking up at the front, George Bissett leads, Cassandra Cole in 2nd, Mark Burke 3rd, Mark Burke, Timmy Catalano in 4th, Mikey Flynn 5th, Justin Brent 6th, Joseph Eilard in 7th, Nick Salva in 8th, Daniel Kutu in 9th, and running in the final spot on the field, on the grid, is Dalton McCarthy. Oh, what is going on here on the restart with Dalton McCarthy? He's trying to get in line.
Confusion.
Oh, and it's going to lead to an accident.
Check up. So they were expecting to go green there, but iRacing still was under caution. So right now the pace car will come back out. Everything will be sorted momentarily, but a little bit of confusion there.
Yeah, it looked like Dalton McCarthy was trying to get back where he thinks he should be on the grid. And it looks like he will be given that spot. Looks like it might be to the inside of Mikey Flynn, but a lot of confusion. The pace car is off though, so they're going to go green this time by. And big break for Cassandra Cole because she almost got turned as a result. Bissett gets the jump. Cassandra Cole settles into the second spot as they head to turn one. Catalano spins turn one into the wall, and that's going to bring out the yellow again. Oh man, Timmy's luck is just, if it's not bad luck, it's no luck. Looks like he got some contact, I think, from Burke in turn one. Got to check the replay. But Catalano ends up spinning up to the wall in turn one. He keeps it going though, but a really rough break for that 54 car with 7 laps to go.
7 laps left in this event, and like you said, a very, very rough break for him.
So again, George Bissett Jr., though, looking back at that restart, really good restart for him. Cassandra Cole during that jam up got almost turned around, and that could have caused her big time. Doesn't look like they have too much damage, either her or Burke or Brandon, whoever got affected by that stack up. Again, there's no resets on these cars, so if you run some tough luck under caution or under some confusion, your night may be over. So we're going to try it again here. There'll be 7 laps to go. This has been not the cleanest of consolation races. This is the last consolation before the 5-minute warm-up and then the 80-lap feature coming later. Just a heads up, in the feature race, caution laps will count, but right now in this consolation, the yellow flags do not make a difference in terms of how many laps are left.
They do not have any sort of time limit or anything, so these guys will just run these laps out as long as they need to take to do so here. Getting ready to go back green soon. They're just getting everything sorted with race control.
One guy that's made his way up quietly is Justin Brenn, that 66 car. He is now behind Mark Berg. He's the one out right now, the first one out. And Dalton McCarthy, after just getting past that excursion a couple cautions ago, he's right there too. But Justin Brenn, he really wants to get in after making it last week. He's been doing a lot of practice. They have practice almost every day this week, at least in the last half of the week. And Justin Brenn was practicing each and every night. So it'd be such a heartbreaker for him to practice as hard as he has been and not make it. But he's right behind Mark Burke. He's got a chance when they come back to the green flag with 7 laps to go. And again, 7 laps is a lot. And if we have more yellows, it's just going to keep bunching the field up and they'll have another chance.
Right now, this event would not be possible without all of our sponsors. Napa Auto Parts, Dunleavy Truck and Trailer Repair, Midstate Site Development, Call Before You Dig, Lincoln Technical Institute, Spark Virtual Reality, Maybury Material Handling, all do so much for us and make this possible. Please, I know it's crazy out there in the world right now. Everyone needs to stay home and stay safe. But the businesses that are open, the essential businesses, I know Napa is, go and support these people that support local racing. They are what let us do what we love to do and watch what we love to watch. Every single Friday night, they are there for us. Support our sponsors because they support us. So thank you to every single one of them.
Now looking at the front, Timmy Catalano's in front of George Bissett Jr. Obviously, Timmy Catalano spun that last caution, so we'll see what the scoring does here. But there's just 7 laps to go. It's George Bissett Jr., Cassandra Cole, Mark Burke, Justin Brenn, Dalton McCarthy, Mikey Flynn still on the outside looking in, Joseph Eilert, Nick Salva, Daniel Kutu as Salva continues to blink, and Kevin Crosby is in here now. But Crosby is pretty far behind, I believe. He's been having connection issues so far in this one. So looking back in the front, the question is, can Burke hold on to that 3rd spot? Can Cassandra and Timmy try to get in line? And to think, Catalano got involved in that spin last caution. He's still in that 4th spot as they come to the stripe and take the restart with 7 laps to go.
He's sitting on the outside, though, Timmy Catalano is. And right now, you see Mikey Flynn making a big move to the bottom. And a bump to the back bumper by that 24 car. He needs to get to the front. He's a quick car. He's an aggressive driver, and he's going to do everything he can, everything he needs to do to get up there to the front. We see him 2 wide in front. The 8 car gets up into the wall, just got tight on exit. Who's going to be able to get through here clean? They're 3 wide, and they're all going around. Caution is out. Minimal damage, it looks like, for a lot of cars, but Timmy Catalano got slammed there, and his engine blew up.
Timmy Catalano, Mark Burke, and Mikey Flynn. Joseph Eilert spun in a separate accident off of turn 4, so we had about 5 or 6 cars get involved in incidents that lap. Dalton McCarthy also got in a little get-together off of 2, but he never spun out. But man, Catalano slammed the wall over and over again as he was spinning, and that might be it for that 54 car. Man, he's had some horrible luck today. You got a feel for him. Nothing really that he has caused himself either. And he had just gotten back to the top 4 after spinning out earlier, only to end up in the wall again.
A bit of mayhem this race. Like we said, everyone wants to advance into the feature event. We are looking, discussing things with race control. We are listening in on that. They are pretty much just trying to get everything sorted right now and make sure these guys are racing clean, racing fairly, and they're all lined up in the right place. Mikey Flynn, though, he's up to 4th with the 66 now sitting in 3rd. They are going to be battling here, Justin Brent and Mikey Flynn, for that last transfer spot. Only 3 advance from this consolation race.
It's no real surprise that George Bissett Jr. has been leading, but again, also track position again is important because of all the incidents we've seen on track. The safest place to be is out front. It's been that 6th, 7th, 8th spot where we've seen the accidents happen. So George Bissett Jr. getting the job done. Cassandra Cole is able to always find the gap and get in line. It's that 3rd and 4th position that keeps changing every restart. And all of a sudden, it's now Justin Brand and Mikey Flynn, that 3rd and 4th spot. So we'll see what happens here. There's some chatter going on in race control right now. We're trying to get an understanding of what's going on. But right now, Mikey Flynn, the first one out, and he really wants to get in because he was very frustrated that he didn't make it last week. And Daniel Kutu, after having a couple spins earlier, he's right behind Justin Brand, that 33 car. So who knows? Maybe he has a shot.
The Double Hook Lounge is open tonight. It's operating under a new name, Your Refrigerator. The selection is your personal favorite because it's whatever you stocked it with. If your fridge is empty or you are too young to visit the Double Hook Bar, please don't. So that is what we have to do. I think everyone's going to drive home safe tonight because I sure hope you are all safe and sound at home at the moment. But the Double Hook Bar is currently operating under the name Your Refrigerator until the season starts here at Stafford Motor Speedway.
It reminds me, I remember Corey Casagrande told Sean Corshane of Braeside, Connecticut about the heat race and getting his way in, and he's just like, yeah, I'm just worried that I might be sent home. And then he tweeted on later and he said, I didn't really quite think that one through because obviously there's no such thing as going home when you are home. So there's still some people adapting to the fact that this is a sim race and not in real life.
iRacing is as close as you can get to driving a race car without putting on a fire suit, without having to put on a fire suit. But the pace car is in. Mikey Flynn is sitting in 4th, and getting a good jump is George Bissett Jr., but they are side by side for 3rd. We could see that outside work here, but Mikey Flynn has been aggressive all night. We'll see what he can do with Justin Brent on his inside. Trying to get clear off the corner, he does. That 24 car is out for blood. He needs to make this feature and make his sponsors happy. The race ends, though, due to a time limit.
Wow. Wow. Is that perfect timing or what for Mikey Flynn? Gets up to the 3rd position.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but Nick Salva spun off of turn 2, so he's pretty much out of it now. So Salva, who's had some connection issues, ended up spinning around in turn 2. So the top 3 right now is George Bissett Jr., Cassandra Cole, and Mikey Flynn. Flynn doing a fantastic job getting past Justin Brand. He is now in the transfer position.
Right now, we have a 5-minute warm-up for these guys to go out and just warm these cars up. We're going to take a quick break, though, recuperate after that long Conti event, and we'll go through the lineup and everything else once we get back here. These guys have been waiting a long time. Let's take a quick break. We saw some of the upcoming events for the Global SimRacing Channel right there. Hopefully you will tune into a lot of those, but before you can do that, you got to watch this race right here at Stafford Motor Speedway, home of the SK Modifieds. Again, thank you to all of our sponsors that help us out every week, week in and week out at the track and virtually. That would be Napa Auto Parts, Dunleavy Truck and Trailer Repair, Midstate Site Development, Call Before You Dig, Lincoln Technical Institute, Spark Virtual Reality, and Maybury Material Handling. They are what help keep us running here. One thing I do want to point out, Spark Virtual Reality, that is as cool as it can be. I've never gotten to try iRacing on virtual reality. When I build a computer, that is one of my goals. But if you don't want to spend the, however much money it takes to build a computer and get a VR set all set up, go over there. They've got great prices. They will help you out. And when I'm back home in Massachusetts and Connecticut, I'm going to be sure to be there probably at least a couple times this summer, more than I should admit. So I'm excited for all that. They have a representative racing here in this race. Keep an eye open. But right now, in this warm-up, temperatures are flaring. And I think that could be a sign of things to come. What do you think, Bonza?
Yeah, it's been crazy. We've seen some people get upset, but another thing that I think we have noticed now is that our race director, Dylan Kopeck, has set the tone. Because we have seen people get penalized to the end of the line. We've seen people with tough situations with their connections and blinking get disqualified. So these guys have to be careful. 80 laps is a lot of laps. There's no resets. So if you get involved in the crash, you're in trouble. And if you cause a crash, you're going to be sent to the end of the line. And when you're at the end of the line, this 26-car field, there's a lot that's going to happen in front of you.
Let's take a look through the grid here. 80 laps around this track. The caution laps do count in this. They didn't in the heat and the consolation events, but they do count here. Starting on your pole is Corey DiMatteo. On his outside, Peter Bennett. In third place, Jacob Perry. Fourth, Travis Hydar. Fifth, last week's winner, Teddy Hodgman. Starting sixth is Troy Talman. Andrew Muller in seventh. Eighth, Mike Christopher Jr. Ninth is Matt Vassar, the Slim Reaper. And in 10th, Jonathan Puglia.
Starting in 11th is Brian Narducci. Corey Casagrande makes it this week, starts in 12th. Tony Membrino starts in the 13th position. Ryan Kern in 14th. John Fortin in 15th. Paul Buzel in 16th. Matt Swanson in that blue 3 car is in 17th. Doug Meserve will start in the 18th spot. Kyle Johnson 19th. And Sal Accardi rounds out the top 20.
Starting in 21st, these are the guys that race their way in from the contests. Tyler Leary is 21st. George Bissett Jr. 22nd. Kyle Elwood, 23rd. Cassandra Cole, 24th. 25th, Peter Thickett. Rounding out the field, looking to work his way to the front, is Mikey Flynn. That is a tall order to make passes here at Stafford Motor Speedway. If you're not in the top 10 right now, your one goal is to just make passes. That's more important almost than surviving and making it to the end. Obviously, you have to make it to the end here, but you have to get to the front to have a chance at doing it and avoid the wrecks. It's not the fastest car that wins this race. We're going to hear this a lot tonight. It's not the fastest car that wins the race. It's the first one to complete 80 laps here at Stafford Motor Speedway. That'll make a whole lot more sense later when these guys are wrecking. You have to make it to the end.
But it can be done. We saw Glenn Ring start back in 21st last week. Hit a lot of things, not of his own doing, but he got caught in multiple scrums. And where did he finish? Second spot. So for Mikey Flynn, it can be done. It won't be easy, but it can be done. But hey, we're coming to the green flag right now. Corey DiMatteo on the front row with Peter Bennett. They will go when the green flag comes out. It is out, and we are underway at the virtual Stafford Motor Speedway and the 3-race series on iRacing.
They are 2 wide, 13 rows deep, coming to turn 1. Right now, they're side by side down the backstretch for the lead. Teddy Hodgman trying to make it work back there. Corey DiMatteo, all 4 tires on the apron. The 50 gets tagged. He's holding on to it, and he saves it. They're going to be 3 wide going into turn 1 for second. 3 wide on the bottom is back.
How in the world did they make it through? That was incredible. They come out of it in one piece. Meanwhile, DiMatteo pulls out way ahead by almost a second over Peter Bennett. I cannot believe they all hung on to that. What a battle as they come up before. One car caught the wall off the corner. Can't tell who that was. That might have been Troy Talman the 2, and it was. They start to single out in the front, though. In second spot is Peter Bennett. Running in third is Jacob Perry as they continue the race on to turn 3.
Matt Vassar is feeling the heat of a Hummel hot dog being cooked. He has got Brian Narducci right behind him. Vassar slides up in front of Tallman, slides back down in front of Narducci.
Trouble,
Now,
turn
there's a
one. Ryan
caution
Fern
out
has
on track.
spun. Multiple cars have spun out in turn one. Ryan Fern was one. Then it looked like 3 or 4 more cars might have been collected in that one. It started mid-pack. Ryan Fern was the first one that went around, and that'll bring out the yellow for the first time tonight on lap 4. We got a couple cars that have already blown engines. Doug Meserve is smoking. Corey Casagrande is smoking. That's a big deal with no resets. That might cost him the race.
Taking a look at Ryan Fern, just got a tap to the back bumper from the 34. Nothing you can do. Once these cars lose their positioning and they start spinning around, that's it. You're along for the ride. So Ryan Fern, you see his in-car camera, nothing he did wrong. He just holds the wheel all the way to the right, lock it down, point it back straight, and get rolling again.
Yeah, they stacked up behind him, though, and that's why guys like Doug Meserve and Corey Casagrande got involved in that crash and have smoking cars. You can see them on the bottom of your screen making that hard left turn to the pits. John Fortin was the one that got into Ryan Fern. He has been assessed an end-of-the-line penalty. He will start in the back for this one. Again, caution laps do count, hence why we're on lap 6. But wow, what action we saw coming off of turn 2 and turn 4 in the first couple laps there, Jeff.
Absolutely unbelievable racing there. They were 3 wide entering turn 1 and they made it work. You don't hear that often here at Stafford Motor Speedway. When those cars get 3 wide, trouble usually follows. But that's not even what caused this caution. It was a race further in the back. And that just goes to show what they're doing is trying to get to the front. They cannot leave an inch that is left unclaimed. They have to do everything they can to try and make passes.
Interesting. Troy Talman stayed out, and Talman caught the wall off a turn 4 during that run. I guess he's not worried about damage because he didn't pit last time by, so we'll see how his car handles afterwards. That's him in that blue 2 car with that shiny lighter shade of blue, excuse me, number 2. That's Mike Christopher Jr. right behind them. Those are 3 guys you gotta watch. Narducci, Talman, and Christopher Jr. They were going at it during the warm-up. They provided quite a show as the field bubbles up. You got Corey DiMatteo in first, Peter Bennett second, Jacob Perry in third, Teddy Hodgson fourth. Running in the fifth spot is Travis Haidar, Andrew Moeller sixth, Matt Vassar in seventh, Brian Narducci eighth, Troy Talman ninth, and Mike Christopher Jr. in 10th.
The biggest movers so far have gained 7 positions each. That's Mikey Flynn currently sitting in 19th and Tyler Leary currently sitting 14th. But on this restart, we're going to crank it up to 11 here and let the cars do the talking. They're going to be 3 wide entering turn 1 if Hodgson doesn't back off. The only thing better than the roaring of these engines is the smell of the gasoline, and we will return to that soon at the track, but we can enjoy just as much action here.
Got a crash in turn 3. Huge crash in turn 3. One car slammed side down, and that's not a good sign as always. He resets his pit road. Doesn't mean that he fixed this car, but he had to reset the car so that he can tow it in the pit road. But a big crash for Tyler Leary. He slammed the wall virtually head on and flipped over. That car was on its side for a while, but ended up on his roof. Meanwhile, during that section where we cranked the audio up, Paul Buzel almost spun off turn 2, but he kept it going. But the cautions for Tyler Leary. Don't know what happened. Look at the replay now. Looks like he might have had a little bit of contact with Kyle Johnson. And again, when you hit the wall with these open wheel modifieds, you can go over. And that's exactly what happened to Leary. He's now on pit road getting his car repaired. We don't know how bad the repairs might be, how long it might take. But tough luck for Leary, who got in through the consolation race.
He had raced his way up, like we mentioned beforehand. He was one of the biggest movers. He had gained 7 spots by the time of that restart, but unfortunately, all that ground is now lost. He's being scored at least 1 lap down, probably a couple more. Marcello Rafrano has just rejoined here. but he is going to be watching from the Double Hook Lounge, also now renamed to Your Refrigerator. Be sure to kick back and enjoy here. These next couple laps here, 80 of them in total. It's going to be some amazing racing.
We've seen some great racing so far as you're looking on board of Kyle Elwood. Started in 23rd. He's made his way up to 15th. 8 spots. It's a good amount of time in about 5 or 6 green flag laps. So looking at the back of the pack, one of the guys we were trying to keep an eye on was Mikey Flynn. He started back in 26. He's made his way up to 17th. Another one of the bigger movers so far in this one. That's going to happen when you have these accidents mid-pack. Can you get through it and gain a bunch of positions? Caution laps do count, so when you get past the red cars, you don't have to give way to them. You can just keep on going in the position you came out following the wreck. There's Mikey Flynn, the 24, right behind Ryan Fern, the 12, who was involved in the first caution of the race. So far, 14 laps in, 2 cautions. Di Matteo still leading as they double up right now. Peter Bennett in second, Jacob Perry third, Teddy Hodgson fourth, Andrew Moeller rounds out the top 5.
Keep in mind, race control has implemented a ruling here. If you hit 17 incident points, which are calculated in iRacing, you get 4 of them for hitting someone else and 1 for going off track, 2 for hitting the wall. You will be automatically DQ'd. Green flag is back out and a great jump by Di Matteo.
Yeah, be careful, Di Matteo. He has blinked a couple times, but so far so good. It's not an issue, I guess, when you're leading in front of the whole pack. The battle is for second spot, though, as inside of Peter Bennett is Jacob Perry in that military specialized paint scheme. He's going to try and clear that orange 50 car coming off of turn 4, and he does so. Jacob Perry up to second. Bennett still holding on that outside line, but the caution comes out. We have a car in the wall off of turn 4. I think another one might have flipped. That's George Bassett Jr. in turns 3 and 4. I couldn't tell if he got on his side, but George Bassett Jr. has crashed. Tyler Leary might have gotten a piece of it as well, but the caution does come out again for the 3rd time.
It was a similar instant to earlier. Coming down the back stretch here, we see just both going into the turn. The 09 gives him just the tiniest of bumps to the left rear. And he goes around, locks down the brakes, and that is it. Taking a look on board.
That was Cassandra Cole that got into George Bassett Jr. is looking on board Paul Buzel. Yeah, Bassett was nowhere near going over. I thought it looked like he was going over. Buzel made a decent amount of contact with Bassett there. You wonder how much damage that might give his car. It could be survival of the fittest, just flat out survival. Can you get through and have the cleanest car possible right now? And that's why you have to stay up in that top 5, top 10. Most of these incidents have happened mid-pack and back.
That is exactly right. And like we mentioned earlier before we went back green, if these drivers hit 17 incident points, which are calculated in iRacing, they are automatically being removed from the session, disqualified, no longer being scored, taking it behind the wall. Here's how incident points work. If you make light contact with somebody, you just rub Nerf parts with them or you tap the back bumper, that is a 0 incident point occurrence, also called a 0x is what it's called. You will get a 4x incident if you hit them hard. iRacing will determine what hard is, but if you hit them and cause like a considerable amount of either damage or basically make them save the car, that's a 4x. And you can only get 17 of those before you're automatically kicked. You get 1x for going through the grass, so if you go off track, maybe you dodge a wreck, you go through Reen Acres, that's 1x. 2x for hitting the wall. That's just calculated within iRacing, as mentioned earlier, but you have to be careful and manage those as a driver. Too many, and you're out.
Now, you just saw Tyler Leary go past the pace car, I believe. Tyler Leary got the free pass. He was a couple laps down. Looks like he'll gain 1 back. There are free passes for this race. Corey Di Matteo is the leader. Corey Di Matteo, SK Light track champion at Stafford back in 2017, where he won 4 races. In 17 starts, he had 14 top 10s. After that, he moved his way to the SK Modifieds, looking for his first SK Modified win. He came so close. 1 race last season. He was battling with Keith Rocco as well as Glenn Reen. It was Di Matteo and Rocco side by side off of 2 with a few laps to go for the lead and the win. And Glenn Reen took it 3 wide below, pushed up into Di Matteo and spun Di Matteo out and flattened his tire. And that put an end to both Di Matteo and Reen's race. So Corey Di Matteo is close to getting that first SK Modified win in the real Stafford Motor Speedway. Right now, he's leading in the virtual Stafford Motor Speedway.
Glenn Reen has been having computer issues. He messaged me earlier today and let me know I'm going to try my best to make the race, but unfortunately, computer issues are keeping him from running. but he would absolutely love to do it, I'm sure. Mikey Flynn, we're giving updates on him. He started at the back, and he's moving up faster than anyone else. He's all the way up to 15th now in just 21 laps. He's moving quickly through this field and could be a contender at the end.
Well, here they come now to the green flag. It is in the air. Di Matteo does get the jump. He'll clear Jacob Perry off the turn 4. The battle's going to be for the second spot with him and Peter Bennett. They're side by side for 4th as well. You got Brian Narducci looking inside of Hodgson. Those were the two that were the class of the field last week. They're trying to make their way up after starting a little bit further back than where they were last week. But right now, the battle for second is still on between Peter Bennett and Jacob Perry off of turn 4.
Too wide, too deep. They are battling with everything they've got. Teddy Hodgson on the outside and Narducci. He talked earlier in the pre-race about maybe some bad blood between the two off of it. Narducci joked with Brittany Noodle over on her article that was mentioned earlier in the race, and they go around behind. We are trying to keep everyone straight.
Yeah, a couple cars, or one car spun off of turn 4. That was Travis Haidar in the 58 car. He spun it off of 4, right behind that battle for the 4th, 5th, 6th spot. So we'll see what happened to Travis, but tough break for him because he was starting out in the front at the beginning of this race and he kind of got stuck in the middle of the pack. Looking at the replay right now, it looks like a slight stack up. It looked like Travis had to check up for Moeller, and Mike Christopher Jr. got into the back of Travis as a result, and that'll bring out the yellow for the 4th time. We're on board with Travis Haidar right now. That's Moeller in the 35 right in front of him. Moeller does check up a little bit. Travis checks up as well, but he got hit from behind. And as a result, Mike Christopher Jr. has been given a penalty. He will go to the end of the longest line.
Mike Christopher Jr. not happy at all with that decision, telling Race Control he was a pinball. What did I do wrong? Race Control responded back. You made contact with them. They are making sure that everyone drives clean and drives fair here. So that is what Dylan Kopech, driver of the M6 Tour Modified, you might have seen him at Stafford 2 or 3 times last year. He drives the M6 out of Palmer, Massachusetts. He is behind the reins here, making sure everyone is playing clean.
Corey Di Matteo continues to lead. Tyler Leary gets another wave around. So when he was once 2 laps down, he is now back on the lead lap. Mikey Flynn is 2 laps down. I'm starting to wonder what happened to him. He's right now in the last position, 26. It says he's 2 laps down. Don't know if we can get to that situation, see what happened. But Tyler Leary is going to be back on the lead lap. Right now, we are on lap 26 of 80 here in this 3-race series with the SK Modifieds to the virtual Stafford Motor Speedway.
Matt Vassar drives the number 11 Hummel Hot Dogs Modified at Stafford Motor Speedway every single Friday night. That man is 6'5". We call him the Slim Reaper. He's got surgical precision as he carves his way through the field. Tonight, he took the grid in 9th. He's currently sitting in 7th. He races out of the same workshop as the Rent a Race Car guys. A shout out to them for sure. They do a great job. If you want to get behind the wheel of a race car, go find Rent a Race Car on Facebook. I'll tell you what, you can go and drive in a race at Stafford. You do the practices, you do the qualifying, the heat races, and then you race in the feature in a Rent a Race Car prepared street stock. It's a fantastic program, and if you're like me and have always wanted to get behind the wheel of a race car, now you can do it. It's pretty cheap. It's pretty affordable. Make sure to go give Rent a Race Car some love over on Facebook. But going back to the front of the field, they are 2 wide, 13 deep here, getting ready to take the green flag. Corey Di Matteo dives it down to the bottom and hits the gas. The 21 follows right along. Hodgson is going to be to the inside of Narducci. They're 2 wide, 2 deep right there, battling everyone for second.
The heat of the battle has been between Jacob Perry and Peter Bennett. They continue to race side by side. They've been doing that for the last several laps. Teddy Hodgson took a look to the inside, but Narducci looked even lower. Hodgson slides up the track a little bit, but they keep it going in a line. The battle continues for second spot between Jacob Perry and Peter Bennett. Doug Meservey is in the grass off of turn 4, it looked like, but he kept the car straight. The battle for second continues. Peter Bennett is just not giving away that position, but it looks like eventually Perry will have the advantage and take that second spot as Hodgson tries to file in behind the 21 car, battling for third.
Jacob Perry gets around Peter Bennett in the 50. Teddy Hodgson tries to follow. Narducci on his back bumper. They're 3 wide battling for third. Hodgson all the way up at the top. Narducci at the bottom. They make contact. They all hold on to it. They're still racing side by side. Matt Vassar comes in out of nowhere. He's worked his way up to 5th. He's to the inside of Hodgson trying to make something happen.
Wow, that was really close.
Vassar gets tagged by the 2 and goes around.
Yeah, he collected a couple
big
others
wreck.
with him off of turn 2. Multi-car pileup, trying to see who else was involved in that. Vassar was the first around. Corey Casagrande was involved. I think Missouri got a piece. John Fortin was in it as well. Just a mayhem there because you got the guy running in the 5th, 6th spot.
Let's take a
that spun
look
out
at
in
this
front of the entire
replay.
field.
Let's take a look at this replay focusing on Matt Vassar. Driving hard to the inside of Teddy Hodgson, though, working his way up through the field at this point. Riding on board, just gets a tap from Troy Towman from behind. Gets sent around, wheel to the right, try to save it. He's along for the ride, and now just mayhem behind as everyone tries to avoid it. Took a little bit of a shot to the back bumper there, but the Slim Reaper involved in the wreck thanks to a tap from the back bumper by the 2 car.
Yeah, it looks like Andrew Moeller got a piece of it as well. Sal Cardi in the red 41. Looks like Kyle Elwood got a piece. And they just kept stacking up behind them. Oh, Mike Christopher Jr. got a good piece of that too in that black car. John Fortin, there's Corey Casagrande. So a good 6-7 cars, but Mike Jr., one of the contenders. You wonder how much damage he might have had from that, as Kyle Elwood, you see, just barely gets by. Might have nicked Matt Vassar a little bit. But nonetheless, it's our 5th caution, I believe, of the race so far, and we're on lap 34.
Troy Tallman has been given an EOL penalty as a result of that wreck from race control. George Bissett Jr. hit the incident limit. We are trying to clear it. It appears it was a mistake, but right now he's getting towed back to pit road and trying to get back out on track.
Yeah, Mike Christopher Jr. is in 24th right now, 2 laps down. Paul Buzos had a couple close calls. He's now 3 laps down in 25th. I believe Mikey Flynn has the last spot in 26. He disconnected earlier. Don't know if he'll come back. He's 11 laps down. Looking in the front, though, Di Matteo continues to lead. He's just getting the jump every time on those restarts, kind of like what we saw with Teddy last week, in that he would start in that middle lane, and then when the green comes out, he cuts to the bottom to give himself an advantage because it's the shorter distance. It's just that simple. And he gains a couple car lanes on Perry, and it leaves Perry and Bennett to battle for the 2nd spot. And it's happened every single restart. And you have Hodgson and Narducci. They were racing hard that last time, taking it 3 wide. What are they going to do? You got Kyle Elwood, who's not going to pit. He had a little bit of damage. He's right behind Narducci. And Jonathan Pulio's in there, too. He and Tony Membrino have been quiet there in the top 10. Let's see what they can do. Matt Swanson, he's slowly making his way up. He's running in the 9th position as they get ready for the green flag.
Coming to the green flag, Corey Di Matteo dives it to the bottom and hits the gas. Peter Bennett to the inside of Jacob Perry. Brian Narducci trying to follow. The inside line is the strongest one here. Narducci thinks about going 3 wide, thinks better of it. He's going to sit right behind Peter Bennett, get a run going into turn 3 here and try to clear Jacob Perry. Narducci with a hard drive in. Bennett slides up a bit and saves it. Narducci and Perry are side by side for 3rd.
Yeah, Narducci got in front of Teddy Hodgson on that restart into the bottom line. That was a good job by that 13 car. He's going to get past Jacob Perry and take the 3rd spot. The battle's going to be for 4th right now between Jacob Perry and Teddy Hodgson, the defending winner. Got 1 car sideways in the back of the pack. I think he's saved. There's one in the infield graphic. I can't tell who that is, but they're going to continue on because that car spun in the middle of the pack.
Might have been Troy Tallman that got sent to the bottom there, but sent all the way to the top with a tap from Narducci was that 21 car Jacob Perry. That clears him, and Hodgson gives Jonathan Pulio a run to the inside here. Hodgson and Narducci are now bumper to bumper. You got about the length of a popsicle stick between those 2 guys. Right now, they both want to win. We are looking in on Hodgson. You can see he's going to dive the car in deep. Look at that tachometer, bright red. He's getting that car right up to the rev limiter, entering the turns. That's exactly what he has to do. Entering turn 1, same thing, dives it hard in, almost all 4 tires on, trying to make up ground here on Narducci.
That was Troy Tallman that had a spin field grass a couple laps ago. He kept it going, hence why there's no yellow. Peter Bennett is not losing ground to Corey Di Matteo. There's still nose to tail at the front of the field. Up to third spot right now is Brian Narducci. Let's see if he can hold off Teddy Hodgson. The bow behind them. There's contact. It's Tony Membrino spinning off of turn 2 into the grass. I think everybody else was able to avoid him. I think he was battling against either Jonathan Pulio or Jacob Perry. He did spin to the infield grass, though, and keeps on going. So as a result, we have no yellow as the front two continue to race nose to tail.
We stay green, and Peter Bennett is beating on that back bumper at Corey DiMatteo. Don't forget, this is Stafford, the home of Ted Christopher. There's a 3-bump rule. First is I'm here, second is it's time to move, third is I'm moving you. We've seen 1 bump so far. We'll see what Peter Bennett has to say to Corey DiMatteo as he's knocking on that back door.
Right behind them, though, is Brian Narducci and Teddy Hodgson. They're watching those two battle, waiting to see who makes their move, and Jacob Perry continues to run the 5th spot. The first battle on track is further back, though, around the top 10. But right now, looking at the front, Peter Bennett continues to try and hound on the back bumper of the leader, Corey DiMatteo.
The way to make a pass here at Stafford Motor Speedway is to get to the guys inside one way or another. You need to be side by side with him on one of the straightaways. He's going to try and make the move here. Doesn't have enough juice in the tank. Now diving into turn 1, he goes a little bit higher than DiMatteo does, tries to carry more speed on corner exit and get to that back bumper down the straightaway.
The first side-by-side battle is Kyle Elwood in the 10th spot battling against Cassandra Cole. Doug Meserve is off the pace in the bottom line, turn 3 right in front of Elwood and Cassandra, but they're good to go. Looks like they get away from that, but they continue to race side-by-side for the top 10 position as Bennett continues to stay right behind the bumper of DiMatteo. That's the first side-by-side battle you're seeing, with Kyle Elwood in that 45 and Cassandra Cole in that white car. Right behind him is Pete Thickett and Tyler Leary, who just got back on the lead lap. He's trying to make his way out to the top 10.
0.006 of a second. That is about, very, very, very quick. Let's put it simply. Peter Bennett is right on the back bumper of Corey DiMatteo. That was
Whoa!
the
Spin back straightaway. Multiple cars crashed in the backstretch. Kyle Elwood was the first one to get sideways, and a couple other cars stacked in behind him. But Kyle Elwood was the first one around. I think Kyle Johnson got a piece. Pete Thickett, I believe, got a piece. That was a battle for that 10th and 11th position that we were just looking at, but eventually led to an accident on the back straightaway, and that'll bring out another yellow as we complete 47 laps.
That 45 car, Kyle Elwood, he has engine damage. If we can get a view from inside his cockpit, you'll see just gets a tap to the back bumper there and then goes around. You see his in-car camera, feels a tap, tries to save it, overcorrects, and goes around, involves the 99. Everyone just gets piled up trying to avoid.
Yeah, tough break. That was a good battle going on. Looked like, as you mentioned, just a bump from behind. That's what caused that mayhem. So we continue out here with lap 50 on the board right now. There's only 31 laps to go in this one. It's going by quick. Peter Bennett still not able to find his way past Corey DiMatteo. They're able to stay bumper to bumper as George Bassett comes around and takes the wave around. It's DiMatteo in first, Peter Bennett second, Brian Narducci in third, Teddy Hodgson in fourth. Those two were able to stay with Bennett and the leader DiMatteo. So we're seeing more players this week racing for the lead compared to last week. When we look at a guy like Matt Swanson, we haven't really heard much from Matt Swanson in that 3 car. He's right now behind Jonathan Pulio, running in the 7th position. He was running top 3 for most of that race as you're on board looking at the right front spring there of Matt Swanson, the modified tour driver. Kind of stuck in that 6th, 7th, 8th position. Jonathan Pulio right in front of him. Travis Hydar, who spun earlier in the race, is right behind Swanson, running in the 8th position. Salicardi, he's had a couple issues so far, running in the 9th spot. Doug Meserve is a lap down. He's behind Cassandra Cole, so I wonder if he's going to get a wave around at some point. But right now, looking up at the front, Corey DiMatteo trying to get a win his first time in the series. It's only the 2nd race, but the first attempt nonetheless.
29 laps remain in this event. They are only doing 80 tonight, but Corey DiMatteo, you see him going back and forth, keeping those tires warm. He's got a lot of laps on them. These are the tires they started the race on. Tire fall-off isn't too bad here time-wise for Stafford Motor Speedway, but the car handles a lot differently. You can dive the car in and get a better run off if you are on newer tires, versus you can roll the center a lot better on tires that are already worn in. So we'll see what happens here. Not many people out there have really a tire advantage per se, but Matt Vasso sitting back there in 13th, he's looking to work his way back up through the field. and you have a lot of guys out here that can still win this race. Starting in 12th, is Matt Vassar, as they are all shuffled up here, getting ready to go 2 wide, 13 deep here for this modified race.
Looking at the rundown, you have Corey DiMatteo that'll lead him off at the restart, Peter Bennett second, Brian Narducci third, Teddy Hodgson fourth, Jacob Perry fifth, John DeFulio sixth, Matt Swanson seventh, Travis Hyder eighth, Sal Accardi ninth, and Cassandra Cole rounds out the top 10. As the green flag comes out, we're back underway, and again, DiMatteo gets the jump and is all by his lonesome as they enter turn 1.
If he was worried about Peter Bennett on his back bumper, how about
Got
Brian
more trouble in
Narducci?
mid-pack, a couple cars spinning around. Looks like it might not cause a yellow, but there was contact mid-pack. Everyone keeps going, it looks like, though, and we remain under green. Ryan Byrne is sideways off of 2. He gets the car straightened down, keeps going, so tough luck for him. He was involved in an earlier caution, but again, we remain under green, and we have a new guy in the second spot, Jeff.
Brian Narducci, he is a lead foot driver. If you're in his way, best of luck to you. Got a little bit loose off the corner there. He's driving that car with everything he's got.
Bennett gets turned! Bennett gets turned from the 3rd position. That will bring out the yellow. He got bumped from behind. I believe that was Jacob Perry that might have gotten into the back of Bennett, and that brings out the yellow. They were just singled down the front of the pack too, and Jacob Perry has been given a penalty to the end of the line.
Oh man, he didn't just send it in there, he sent it in there with intent, it almost looks like. The 21 diving it all the way down to the bottom, overdrives the entry a bit, gets into Peter Bennett, and gets a penalty as a result. Not too much damage to Bennett, looks like he might be able to rebound, but that's a very frustrating thing as a driver where you just get spun around by someone that's about 2 car lengths back that dive bombs you from that far away.
I wonder if we can get it on board with Hodgson, because he barely missed that. It looked like Perry might have gotten a piece of it, but Hodgson hung a hard right and just got past the outside, on the outside of that incident with Bennett and Perry. We're riding on board right now. It happens right in front of him. Maybe a slight contact, but a hard right keeps it off the wall and just keeps it going. Nice job by Teddy to get through that one, but tough break for Peter Bennett. He was running 2nd or 3rd all race long. Couldn't get away past DiMatteo for the lead and ends up getting turned.
Peter Bennett is coming out of the pits right now, but take a look up at Teddy Hodgson as well in 3rd place. He will have the advantage of being on the inside for this restart. He will be to the inside of Narducci. So if he gets a good run, a good start right behind Corey DiMatteo, take a look at the positions gained and lost though. The most so far, Sal Accardi up 14 along with Cassandra Cole and Thicket back there. Those guys have all gained 14 positions. Guys and girls have all gained 14 positions. The biggest loser tonight, unfortunately, is going to be down 11 spots. Peter Bennett right now and Perry as well.
Now those guys do have a little bit of time, as long as they don't get too many yellows, to try and get back up there. And you have to imagine Peter Bennett's going to try and be aggressive here because he had a chance to win this race. That might help Corey DiMatteo because that might have been Peter Bennett. Peter Bennett might have been DiMatteo's biggest competition, and now he's out of the picture for now. At the same time, though, you got Brian Narducci making his way slowly, methodically, from 5th, eventually to 4th, to 3rd, to 2nd. He hasn't been too aggressive yet, but right now, there's only 20 laps to go, and they cross back to the line. So we'll see what Narducci will do. Can he get in line? We've seen DiMatteo get jumps every restart. Can Narducci get in line? Because can't imagine Hodgson's going to let that 13 car in.
Take a look at your broadcast and look at the front end of these cars, how they flex, the springs moving up and down, and they're just cruising around at about 50 miles an hour right now. They're going at least double that speed under green flag conditions. Imagine how hard it is to drive these cars bouncing around inside in real life, but on the virtual world, you don't even get that feeling. You don't know which way the car is going to dart when it does. You have to just go off of what you're seeing and hold on for the ride. Sim racing is its own set of challenges here, and there's a lot of difficult parts of this track here at Stafford Motor Speedway. Pace car ducks off the track with DiMatteo in front, Narducci on his outside.
And Good restart for Di Matteo again. He gets the jump, and Hodgson follows suit. He's going to be inside of Brian for that second spot as they head to turn 1. Jonathan Pulio moves up to 4th spot. He's been making his way through. The SK Light Young Star trying to make his way up to the 3rd spot. But right now, that's clogged up as Narducci looks inside of Hodgson. They make contact. Oh, Di Matteo gets turned! And a huge pileup. The leader of the race gets turned, and everybody piles in. Holy cow.
That was something. That was caused down the backstretch. If we can get a replay of that, Teddy Hodgson. We see a replay coming up now. Keep an eye on Hodgson. He clears Narducci. Narducci is going to dive to the bottom. Hodgson knows this, so he stays low. Oh, Narducci makes a look to the inside. Hodgson's watching his rear view mirror and just touches the back bumper of Di Matteo. Everyone piles in from there. This track is only so wide.
Yeah, it looks like Ryan Fern got a piece, John Fortin, Tyler Leary. It looked like, as you mentioned, Hodgson drove it in deep to try and stay ahead of Narducci, but Di Matteo got hit as a result. That's the humboard of Ryan Fern's bumper gate there, but my goodness, what a turn this has taken. You got Hodgson involved, and you got Di Matteo. The top 2 cars also getting a piece of that was Corey Casagrande. My goodness. Now you have Narducci in front. Travis Haidar is in 2nd. Cassandra Cole's in 3rd. Where did they come from? They were running 7th, 8th, 9th position. Now all of a sudden they are at the front.
Cassandra Cole started this race 24th, raced her way in through the Conti, and now all the way up to 3rd. That wreck there, though, that was just all mind games gone wrong. Narducci was just trying to show Hodgson and get him bent out of shape and keep in Hodgson's mind, make that move down to the bottom. He'd already started lifting before Hodgson even touched Di Matteo, and Hodgson was so focused on blocking that move that he just touched the back bumper of the 40 and sent him around. Complete racing deal, but man, it's unfortunate here for the leaders to get wrapped up in. Back up near the front, though, Cassandra Cole in that 09, involved in an earlier incident, up to 3rd place right now, and track position is king here. It is so important to be up near the front. You can really make some things happen from 3rd place.
Can we pull up the graphic of the positions gained or lost? Because I think Cassandra Cole is the winner of that category right now. Yeah, plus 21. There you go. That's what happens when you avoid the chaos. Cassandra up 21 positions. Even Narducci, starting back in the 11th spot, he's up 10 positions to take the lead. Notice that in 4th spot, Troy Talman. I had a chance to talk with Troy, and he said that he competed tonight, and it was a very interesting reason as to why. He wanted to show something about mental health awareness. He says that he's been struggling with mental health in his young racing career, and he feels that a lot of young drivers also struggle with that. We've seen stories in the Cup Series with guys like Bubba Wallace. I think Stephen Light one time had an issue with mental health. So he wanted to just show that the awareness of mental health is even in racing, and that there's a chance that young drivers might be struggling with that. Right now, he's in the 4th spot. He's in this now. He's been stuck mid-pack all race, but with all the chaos that's happening in the front, now he's in the outside of row 2. He has a chance, possibly. The question now, though, who can get past Narducci?
That is a tall order. He did very well last season, and he gets a good jump at the start here. Haidar will fall in line behind, and Cassandra Cole in 3rd. Bit of a struggle there on the start. Tallman on the outside, trying to stay clear of him and hold off 4th place. They are side by side for 4th.
Oh, Teddy Hodgson just got in the wall up in turn 2 to back the pack. Somebody got into him and ended up in the wall. Another car spun out, Corey Casagrande, but again, no caution. Tough luck for Teddy Hodgson. It just all fell apart so quickly. But he continued green nonetheless.
69 laps down, 12 more to go here at Stafford. They're trying to end this race under green. Narducci would love nothing more than to just stay out front and have a chance to battle Travis Haidar. Narducci has been fast all night. He's gained 10 positions since the start, worked his way up through the field. Right now, he's got about 2/10 over the place Travis Haidar. Take a look at Bennett, though, fighting for 3rd place, dives it down to the bottom, fighting for 4th place, dives it down to the bottom of Cassandra Cole. Almost 3 wide. Troy Talman thinks better of it. He'll try and make a move as soon as he is clear.
Wow, Peter Bennett's moving. Just like that, he's up to the 3rd spot after just getting spun out. Now, Teddy Hodgson just pulled back on track. He's in front of Brian Narducci, and you wonder if Teddy's going to be easy. He's laps down. Will he give Brian Narducci a hard time? But right now, Narducci is being reeled in by Travis Haidar. Haidar is still there in that second spot, a couple car lengths behind that 13 car. But Peter Bennett is also starting to close in a bit as he right on board that 58 car Travis Haidar. Bennett in third, Talman in fourth, Perry back to fifth after he got sent to the back of the field for getting into Bennett.
Ryan Narducci that last lap in 18.775 to Travis Haidar's 18.748. He's about half a tenth or so quicker. Haidar is. That's not quite enough here to reel in Narducci. At this rate, he won't catch his back bumper if he keeps making up that much ground every race. But keep in mind, at Stafford, the big move happens in turn 3 of the last lap every race. Every time you see a last lap pass for the lead, it's coming at turn 3, you dive it in deep, and you use your Nerf bar to push him up out of the way. Narducci is not afraid to make that move. Travis Haidar's made that move plenty of time in the street stocks. You really almost don't want to be the guy in first if the guy in second is within a car length of you going into turn 3 of the last lap.
There's only 5 laps to go and they come back to the line. Haidar's right there. He is right on the back bumper of Ryan Narducci. Teddy Hodge in front of these two looks like will not be an issue. He's keeping the gap. He's pulling away actually from his top 2. But right now it's all on Haidar, the street stock favorite for championship this season versus Ryan Narducci, the SK modified rookie. What will these two do here as they come to the line to take 4 to go? Will Haidar use the bumper or will he try to dive inside Narducci? We haven't seen the outside line work yet, and Haidar really hasn't changed his line. He goes a little bit higher into turn 1, had to check up a little bit, but right now they remain nose to tail with 3.5 laps to go.
We saw bump number 1 right there. Are we going to see number 2 and 3 coming up soon? Just coming to 3 laps to go now. A caution is out.
Yeah, caution happened in the back of the pack. It might have had to do with Corey Casagrande. I see him, John DePulio, and the rest of the pack in the back try to keep going. Like they straightened it out and kept going, but man, that is a tough break for Travis Haidar. He had a chance possibly to try and get under Brian Narducci, and I don't believe we have green-white checkers.
That is correct. There was an issue with iRacing, with the heat races and consolation events all working together in the same session. Green-white checkers, unfortunately, are not possible. We tried everything. It ultimately didn't work. We weren't able to have green-white checkers as much as we would love to. So we have a caution there with just a couple laps to go. We did everything we could to incorporate them, but unfortunately, it just wasn't in the cards tonight, much to the pleasure of Brian Narducci.
No doubt about it, because he was being pressured from Haidar there, and who knows what could have happened. The caution was for Ryan Fern. He did spin out. It was him, contact with Andrew Moeller, and I believe Fortin. I believe those 3 got together, so that was the reason for the caution flag. And they come to the line here. They're going to take the white and the yellow flag together. So there's 1 more lap to go, and what could have been, but you got to give a lot of credit to Travis Haidar. He had a great run going in the beginning. He started up in the front 2 rows. He showed a lot of speed, got caught in the spin off of turn 2, fell back because of it, but in the end he was able to work his way back up, and you knew Brian Narducci was one of the favorites. He started a little bit further back than you may expect in the 11th spot, but slowly, methodically, he was able to work his way through, and after what happened with Corey DiMatteo and the rest of the field, a couple laps to go, a couple cautions to go, this is all Brian Narducci.
Brian Narducci drove his way up through the field, had many side-by-side battles with Teddy Hodgson throughout the race. Hodgson caught the short end of the stick. Narducci is going to win this race, though. Accelerates down the backstretch coming off of turn 2. Very good race all around. 80 laps complete here at Stafford Motor Speedway. Brian Narducci is your winner.
We'll give you the leaderboard and the final results in a moment, but first we'll take a break. And when we come back, we'll give you our final thoughts and the full field rundown here at the virtual Stafford Motor Speedway.
Welcome back to Stafford Motor Speedway. It was a fantastic race here tonight. 80 laps later, Brian Narducci comes out your winner, Travis Hydar in second, and Peter Bennett in third place. We will have your top three here shortly as we get everything sorted out. Bonzo, what did you think about the race here tonight? And let's go through the top results.
Well, let's go through the leaderboard first. As you mentioned, Narducci first, Hydar second, Peter Bennett third, Troy Talman in fourth. Good comeback for Peter Bennett after spinning out earlier. Jacob Perry coming back from an end-of-the-line penalty. He finishes fifth. Great run for Cassandra Cole. Started back outside the top 20. Comes home in sixth. Matt Swanson seventh. George Bissett Jr. after being a lap down earlier comes home eighth. Salacardi ninth. Andrew Moeller rounds out the top 10.
In 11th was Kyle Elwood, Kyle Johnson in 12th, Teddy Hodge in 13th, Kyler Leary in 14th, Corey Casagrande 15th, Doug Meservey in 16th, Josh Morton 17th, Ryan Fernan 18th, John Pulio 19th, and Tony Membrino in 20th.
Looking at the rest of the field, the final six in this leaderboard to finish this race, and these guys ran into some tough luck from the start. Pete Thickett, 21st, 8 laps down. Corey DiMatteo led most of the race, gets involved in an accident. He finishes 22nd as the rest of the field is rounded out there. Just a really tough outcome for these guys at the end of the race. So DiMatteo finishes 22nd, Matt Bassett 23rd, Mike Christopher Jr. 24th, Paul Buzel 25th, and Mikey Flynn 26th. And it looks like we have our second place finisher, Travis Hydar. Travis, you got a copy?
Yes, I do.
Travis, you had a great run going in the beginning. You qualified well, top 4. Coming into this race, what was your mindset? Because it seemed like you had a lot of practice trying to get faster, and it showed during your 2-lap time trial in the heat race.
Well, I ran that practice race that was up last night, and I noticed that there was an incident limit. So I kind of figured that there was going to be one in this race. So my main focus was to just stay out of accidents and get myself in a really good position at the end.
Now, going to the end of the race, you were right behind Narducci, and the caution came out. How much of a difference would it have been if those last 2 laps were green for you? Were you thinking about trying to pass cleanly, or were you not afraid to use the bumper?
I mean, I would have had no choice but to pass cleanly because I had 16 out of 17x for the incident points. So if I gave him
Oh.
one little bump, then that could have been the end of my race.
So how tough is it to have that choice of trying to pass him cleanly? Because it seemed like the track was basically a one-group track.
Yeah, it was pretty much a bottom lane track for the entire race. It was hard to maintain second there at the end because my spotter was telling me that I was a lot faster and I was closing. So it was really tempting to try to make a move there because I wasn't entirely sure we were gonna finish under green. So yeah.
And at the end, who do you have to thank for this race?
Well, I gotta thank Justin Williams for the really cool looking paint scheme this week. That's for sure. He got that done for me yesterday. It looks really good. Um, I gotta thank Hydar Construction. Um, I gotta thank Ryan for spotting me, Ryan Blanchard. Um, I gotta thank Enlero Photo for designing the car, and uh, and I gotta thank Teddy Hodgson for helping me find a good line to run and getting some practice in earlier this week.
All right. That was a great run, a good comeback after an earlier incident. Travis Hydar finishes second. Congrats on the good run, Travis.
In our third place finisher tonight, Peter Bennett. Peter, you were running up front pretty much the entire race. Tell us what was going through your mind after you got spun around there and you had to work your way back up to the.
Boy, I just had, kind of had to reset a little bit. I always enjoy coming from the back, and I'm usually pretty good at it. Usually get pretty good luck. So, I just took it one lap at a time, tried to keep my nose clean, and it was actually kind of fortunate because I was running in the, second place, or so I would have been in second place had I not been spun there. And I guess the top 4 got cleaned out, so maybe it was fortunate. But I was able to go from about 13th to 5th after that, and from there was just able to run in the top 5 and finished third place.
And it was a fantastic third place run there. Congratulations on it. Who do you have to thank for getting you there?
Oh, I got to thank Shoreline Coatings, Portofino's restaurant, all my real life sponsors, my crew, everybody that helps me with my real life car. And then obviously Stafford Motor Speedway for putting on this event. It's a blast to run these races on iRacing. I've been doing iRacing for a long time. So it's new to a lot of people, but it's not new to me. I was really hoping to make a splash here at Stafford and come home with the win, but I'll definitely take a podium finish.
Hey, definitely not a bad night when you finished third. You started second. You ran right around there most of the race. A small incident earlier, but congratulations on a good third place finish here tonight, Pete.
Thank you. See you guys next week.
See you next week, and hopefully in victory lane. Let's bring in our winner, Brian Narducci.
Hey, Brian, you got a copy?
I got you guys.
Brian, congratulations on the win, first of all. A lot of stuff going on that race. You started back in 11th. Was it just a matter for you? Like, what was your mindset? Were you trying to just methodically work your way up, or were you trying to get up there as fast as possible?
Trying to get there as quick as possible. Only 80 laps, and there's a lot of yellows. So just trying to get there as quick as possible without killing the tires. And started 11th, which kind of sucked, but we got in a good lane at the beginning and passed a bunch of cars. And then once we got into the top 5, I knew we were pretty good. Then being fourth kind of sucked, but we got to the right lanes and got in the right lanes. Got into with the 55 a little in the beginning, but kind of cleared that up. And then had a couple restarts next to Di Matteo, and those were fun. He killed me on most of them, but we were right with him after turn 1. And then looked like the 55 just drove in there and cleaned him out.
So when that accident happened and Di Matteo got turned, what was your mindset then, knowing who was behind you after most of the front runners were out?
At that point, I wasn't too worried. I knew the Haidar was fast, but I knew I had enough tires left to hold on. He closed in right before that yellow at the end, but I don't think he had enough to pass us. He was good, but I think we just had a little bit more tire.
How much of a redemption is it for you after the late spin last week with a couple laps to go, restarting in second, now coming home with the win?
It's a lot better. I was mad last week that Reen ended up getting me, but in the 55, and I got into it last week too, so it was pretty nice to come out there and beat him.
Who you got to thank for this win?
Just Stafford and everybody for putting the race on, and everybody watching, and just hope they keep this going and get a lot of views. It's pretty cool, pretty entertaining since we can't actually be at the track. So just everybody that puts this show.
Well, congratulations, Brian, on the win, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Brian, it appears he's left, but hang on. Brian is back here. Brian, I've just gotten word from our race inspector, Tom Fox. Do you think you've cleared inspection?
Definitely.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, everything is good. All the weights were fully secured. His wheel was legal that he was using, and the pedals were legal as well. They're looking into the rule book for the monitor you were using, but right now you are cleared, so congratulations on the win.
Thanks, guys. There's a lot more guys out there with a lot higher dollar equipment than I do, so I think mine.
Brian Narducci feels that he is the David that has overcome Goliath with beating all these far advanced setups ahead of him. But Brian Narducci comes out the winner here tonight. Bonzo, before we close this out, do you have any last thoughts?
I thought this race went smoother than last week, and I think Kopech, him being there and assessing the end of the line penalties when needed, and the fact that you don't have any resets, I think we saw more green flag racing than we saw last week. A lot of drama there at the front. Obviously, the story was Di Matteo and dominating that whole entire race. You had guys like Peter Bennett, Teddy Hodgson, Brian Narducci trying to battle against him, but they couldn't quite make that pass. And eventually, Hodgson got into Di Matteo after Bennett got turned by Perry earlier. So all of a sudden, you had these top 4 runners just wiped out within a few cautions. And that left Brian Narducci, and everyone had to think he was the favorite, but Travis Haidar, credit to him, he had a really fast car and did a really good job trying to keep up with Brian Narducci, but that caution in the end, very interesting to hear about Travis and the fact that he had 16 incidents, one more incident point would have disqualified him. Now you understand why he had the race clean there, and unfortunately didn't have enough time with the yellow coming out late. Big credit to Peter Bennett for the comeback after the spin, Jacob Perry after the penalty, Cassandra Cole gaining many spots to finish in the top 10. A lot of surprise in the top 10, a lot of drama. At the end though, one of the favorites comes out on top.
Brian Narducci, always someone to watch, and like you said, one of the favorites here tonight. Thank you again to all of our sponsors that we've gone through here tonight. They are what help keep us going. Support the people that support short track racing. Thank you to Stafford Speedway and Paul for helping us put this all together. Thank you to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed on the screen coming up shortly. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music, and you can see the screen later on for how to get a hold of more for great work. Thank you to the team today. It was me, Jeff McConey, Bon Satufa, Sean Ambrose is our director, and Dougie Beard helped us on the camera. Be sure to shoot them a follow over on Twitter to stay up to date with everything that goes on behind the scenes. If you'd like to find out more about the Global SimRacing Channel, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at /Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support this channel, go check out the merchandise store at gsrc.storenvy.com, STREENVY.com. The link is in the description below. Don't forget to head on over to our YouTube page and hit the big red subscribe button, both here and for GSRC, as well, so you don't miss a moment for Stafford Motor Speedway or on the Global SimRacing Channel. Next race is next Friday night. Be sure to be here as everyone continues to battle and try to take home the pride of winning here in the virtual iRacing series at Stafford Motor Speedway. Upcoming, we have the 49th Annual Spring Sizzler coming up towards the end of May. But on behalf of everyone here, be sure to tune in to these upcoming events that scroll across your screen. But thank you from everyone at GSRC and the Root family. Good night, everybody.